This is the full debate between Cr1tiKal and SNEAKO. Let's watch it.
I've been all right, man. How are things going on your end?
Things are going good. Every time I talk to you, I'm in some random country. Last time I was in Japan, I was standing outside of a club actually in Japan, and then I think you texted me, and I left the club, and I was just standing on the street underneath like some cherry blossom flowers at like 3 a.m. And now I'm in Turkey.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty serene landscape. Actually, that was very cinematic.
It was. It was the nice flowers, and I think people had this idea that I was an angry person, or maybe that's how you painted me. And then seeing me like walk around like with the nice flowers, like, oh, okay, this guy's not. He's not that red pill rage.
Hey, man, I don't try and paint you as aggressive or anything, but your clips, they like you go ballistic.
Because man,
That's most
I'm
people's
all
impression.
I'm all clips, not mags, but things do get clipped out of context. You know, It's funny because people say like this is the biggest YouTube beef is us, and I haven't been on YouTube for the whole beef.
Yeah, that's true.
For the whole
But like
time.
even outside of YouTube, you still have a massive platform. So like it's more internet beef, I suppose, that people mean to say.
Yeah, I know. Just some of that stuff bothers me. Like when Jinxie's like, "This is the biggest YouTube beef." It's like I haven't been on YouTube for the whole time. It is frustrating not being on platforms. Since then, I've lost more. Like I'm in Turkey. People are like, "What's your Instagram?" I'm like, I have to explain. Like, oh, the Zionists banned me. They called me dangerous. This stuff I have to. I'm not allowed on these platforms. And then I have to imagine explaining to a Turkish guy what Rumble is.
Well, I mean, you just explain it's a streaming platform. I feel like that most people know what that is.
They're like, "What's your YouTube?" And they're like searching it up, or kids, and I have to like they have to download the app, and then they try to watch my video, and they got to sign in. But it's I do like the challenge, but yeah. So let's talk about what we came to talk about.
Yeah, man. So with all of what's going on here, why are you so insistent on like the age of consent being like unreasonable? Or at least that's the impression I and most people gather from the way you speak about it.
That's a valid question, and I want to first ask like, what's your issue with my opinion on the age of consent, age of marriage?
Because I feel like age of consent should just be an accepted number, and I think the accepted one is 18. Like, regardless of where you talk about in the world, I feel like once you start talking about someone under 18, you're basically just talking like a predator. Like, I feel like 18 is a pretty well established number for most sensible people. At 18, you're going to college, you're living your own life now, you're outside of your family nest. Anything under that, you're still a kid.
Okay. It's not 18 in most of the United States where we both live, right?
Yeah, but that refers to like Romeo and Juliet laws, where if you're like 19 and with a 16-year-old, it's not technically illegal, but you're not a 19-year-old, right? So why would you be arguing for like a 16, you
Well,
know?
first off, I'm not arguing to lower the age of consent. I don't believe in the age of consent. We can get there. I want to establish some terms first.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's not even just with Romeo and Juliet laws. There's a lot of states where it's 16 regardless of Romeo and Juliet. And then you go to Europe, most countries are 16. Japan, I think they just changed it. It was like 13 or 14, and now it's 16. Brazil, it's 14. I saw that from a Nelk Boys video. They were joking around about how they should, like, when in Rome, they're in Brazil, so they might as well sleep with a 14-year-old, right? Or across the world, 18. I want to see, like, why do you think 18 is the age of consent?
Because that right now is the one that makes the most sense. I guess to piggyback off what you're saying, so if you're traveling right now, if you go to Europe, are you going to be comfortable like hooking up with a 16-year-old? Like just because it's legal there, would that make you feel comfortable?
No, I don't hook up anymore.
Well, I'm not saying that you do, but I'm saying if you were, single and looking for someone, would you feel comfortable with it being a 16-year-old if it's in Europe versus US?
I wouldn't do that. Like I would not have sex before. I think sex like out of wedlock altogether is something that we should not encourage anymore. And having the age of consent, having that idea encourages people to have premarital sex, right? Just that term age of consent means you're consenting to something that we shouldn't be doing. So no, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, so then instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex. Would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old with romantic intent if you're in Europe and maybe marry a 16-year-old?
I
Nothing
wouldn't.
sexual.
I probably wouldn't personally because I don't think that I'd be on the same mental playing field. I like to have intellectual conversations. I like to be with women that are around my same age. because then I can have conversations I like to relate to them. I think there'd be too much of a gap. But other people, like, if they're able to get along, then I don't see why that's so much of a problem.
But why don't you see that as a problem? So for you, you're recognizing like this person's much younger than me. It is a kid. Like you are talking to.
Okay, so let's define these terms.
Let's in high school.
Before we even get into, let's define these terms before we even get into this conversation. What is a child?
I would use the age of consent. Under 18 would be a kid in my eyes.
So a 17-year-old who's 364 days, that's a kid?
Yep, I'm gonna use very hard set terms. If it is under 18, even if it's 17, 364, that's still a kid.
That's a kid. Okay, so right now,
I think it's important to have these hard lines in the sand where it doesn't have this kind of wiggle room.
Okay, why does that define kid?
As I said earlier, at 18, at that point, you're going out of high school, you're going to college, you're living on your own, you're no longer, a child under your parents' roof, for the most part, extenuating circumstances, of course. But at that age, you are starting to become independent. You are no longer just in your parents' household a kid. You are now going off into the world on your own.
You do admit that varies for most people, right? A lot of people don't move out of their parents' homes until they're 25, 26, 27. A lot of people don't.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people graduate high school 16. A lot of people graduate high school 20. It's a huge variable. So to set that in stone is that this is when you're a kid and this is you're an adult, that doesn't apply to most people. So why would you define a kid and an adult if it doesn't apply to most people?
Because it needs to be defined. Otherwise, you can get into this really gray area where you, like a lot of the things you say, can be misconstrued as you wanting to have sex with a 15, 16-year-old.
Who construed that?
A lot of people, because, I mean,
I don't think
in your
anybody
clips
thinks
that
that.
I played in the video, you were
no
saying
way.
like the age of maturity, the age of development, and then you use 16 and 17 in that clip.
So
for the age of marriage.
The definition of an adult is 18 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fine establishment right there. Anything under 18 would classify as a kid. I think that's important.
Okay, but you're getting that from what? From personal experience, from the government, from the law? Because that's legally in America, that's when you become an adult, correct?
Yeah, legally.
So you're following the government's definition of an adult.
I think there needs to be a definition, and that one's been around for a long time, and I think that's the one most people accept as the closest to, like, yeah, this is when you become an adult.
It actually hasn't, right? 200 years ago in the 1800s in America, the age of marriage...
Yeah, we can't live like that. We're so much more advanced than that. Why would we play by those rules? Because at that point, are you going to start arguing that we should be able to start wedding 12-year-olds? Like, is 12 too young?
That's not the point. I'm saying, you're saying that the U.S. defined adult as 18. Well, I'm saying 200 years ago, the age of marriage in America was 10 and the UK was 7. Right? So if the government decides to change it, you're saying it's 18. If the government, maybe if Kamala Harris gets elected, then the new legal age of an adult is 25. And there could be reasons to say that. They graduated college, they don't leave the house until this age. Their brains don't develop until they're 25. Your frontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. A lot of people aren't making serious money. They're not able to live independently. A lot of things that you could use to classify an adult don't happen for the new age American until 25 years old. So if Kamala Harris raised it to 25, would you then say that that's the new age? Would you agree with that?
I think that'd be totally understandable. Like,
right.
I think that's fine.
So then does that make anybody who sleeps with an under 25-year-old, does that now make them a pedophile?
No, I don't think necessarily that makes them a retroactive pedophile.
So then what's a pedophile?
But it's an accepted definition of 18 for a long time. Is
not for that long.
Upon.
Not for that long, and not through most states, and not through most countries across the world.
Do you see why this is like a weird take to have though? Like I don't think you're coming at this from a place of you wanting to fuck a 15-year-old, are you? Like, to go back to that question, is 12 too young? Do you think 12 is too young?
I think 12 is too young for me. Yes.
Well, for you, do you think 12 is too young in general? I feel like that should be an easy answer.
12 is too young in general, correct? Because, okay. Yes.
And I don't think you're coming at this from that angle.
But what you're saying, your definition of adult is not even the actual definition. Do you know what the definition of child is? Like, anybody watching this can Google it. You can Google it too. The definition of child is somebody who has not reached puberty yet. That's the definition.
Yeah, and then you get into like the abibophile or whatever as opposed to pedophile, and those are all.
I don't know. I have no idea what those terms are. I don't know what that is, but I'm saying that's the actual definition. When somebody reaches maturity, it's based off of biological and physical maturity.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it varies for everybody. Adulthood is not something that you can set in stone because it's different for the entire world. Right? I moved out when I was 14. A lot of people don't move out until they're 25. I went through puberty when I was 17. A lot of people went through puberty when they were 13, 14, 15. It changes for everybody. So for you to say that this is the set in stone age and say you're a pedophile if it's under 18, and then if you're over 18, you're fine. Well, then that's a weird line that doesn't make sense. So you're going to say this person is a terrible person if they're 17 years old, 364 days, and right after that, they're good to go. Well, it changes for everybody. So we have to have something, a definition. We have to be realistic with everybody. Well, we don't. But you're saying we, but that's not even the case in the country we live in.
Why argue against it? If you don't want the age of consent to be lowered, why are you making arguments that the same people who do make? Right now, what you're saying is kind of what NAMBLA used to say, if you're familiar with NAMBLA.
I have no idea what this is.
NAMBLA was the North American Man-Boy Lover Association. They
right,
were
because these people don't want, they want to have sex to take advantage, and they don't abide by the rules of marriage. They don't have any sort of morality. They just want to have. I'm arguing for this because I believe in marriage. Sex should only be within wedlock. That's why I'm talking about this.
Why, if you're arguing, we can take sex out of it. Why, when you're arguing for marriage, do you want it to drop? Like, okay, 16.
When did I say? Just because I don't believe in the age of consent does not mean that I want it to drop. Like, see, that's where the internet can go apply that. Just because I'm saying,
well, no,
because you're saying the definition of an adult is 18. I'm saying that's an arbitrary number, and that makes no sense. We should encourage marriage when people reach maturity. That makes much more logical sense.
That's even more vague, though. But also, you directly.
It's vague because it's different for everybody.
When someone can legally drive, they should be able to legally marry. You did say that to me.
Right. When somebody is legally ready to drive, the same thing. I think adults should drive cars. That's why I told you that.
Yeah, but 15 and 16-year-olds can drive cars. You said when someone can legally drive
across the world, 15 and 16-year-olds can have sex too. I think that people should not operate. But see, you keep thinking that I'm saying this because I want the age to be lowered. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
That's what it comes across as, though. When you
maybe with the internet brain, because people in the West, they want to have sex all the time, and they have a different sort of mindset. Right here in the Middle East, I'm in the Middle East right now. They want to get married and then have sex. So people, just because I'm saying this does not mean automatically lower. No. That's not the case at all. I want to ask you then, because you're insinuating that it sounds creepy and that I sound like a pedophile. What's the definition of pedophile?
It is an adult who is attracted to children.
Yeah, it comes from the Greek word pedo means child, and phile means love. So somebody who loves a child.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
An adult who is attracted to a child.
To a child, somebody who has not reached physical maturity.
Yes.
That's the definition of child. Somebody who hasn't reached physical maturity. It has nothing to do with 18. The definition of the word talks about physical maturity, not the U.S. government definition that you're basing it off of.
But there needs to be an agreed upon place. Otherwise, you get into this area. Again, you said when you can legally drive, you should be able to legally marry.
Right.
We don't have to talk about sex. Do you think it's okay to be marrying a 15 or 16-year-old? Probably not, right? I would imagine probably not.
It depends. So this is where the age of consent becomes arbitrary. I don't even believe that consent is a weird thing to even speak about, but it should be the father, right? If I want to marry a girl, I shouldn't even just get consent from her. I should get consent from her parents. She should want to say yes. Her parents should want to say yes. That's consent from the family, and then you get married. That's the Islamic way. That's the only way that makes sense. This American way of this girl wants to have sex now, she gave consent, and then you get all these false allegations like, oh, she was drunk, oh, she took it back, oh, she retracted consent. All this stuff, there's not even a specific way that we can define consent. What is consent? Some people say it's yes. Some people say it's like nonverbal communication. Some people say that it doesn't count because she was under the influence or she was intimidated. Even this is an arbitrary, is a weird way to define when you're allowed to be in a relationship with somebody.
You're kind of talking around it, though. Those are all very different things. Like I said, we don't have to be talking about sex. I was talking about marriage. The question was, do you think, and you said when you are legally able to drive, you should be able to legally marry. Do you think it is okay for an adult to legally marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
Okay, well, by my logic, if the man is physically mature, if he's went through puberty and he's mentally ready at the age of 16, he's an adult. If he wants to get married to another girl who becomes a woman,
I just said an adult. Is it okay for an adult
Right,
to
and I
legally
established,
marry
but we haven't even established exactly what an adult. So if somebody goes through puberty and they're physically ready, they're biologically ready, they're an adult. So the two 16-year-olds can be considered adults by my logic.
We're not talking about two
What are you talking
16-year-olds.
about?
We're talking about an adult.
That is an
Because when
adult.
You're arguing it. It's
What,
from the
what I'm
perspective
saying
of
is
an
that
adult.
so then what is an adult now?
Okay. We'll use your age. Someone who is 25. Is it okay for someone who is in their 20s to marry a 15 or 16-year-old? And let me explain, when you're doing your arguments, it's coming from an adult. I've never heard you say, like, two teenagers should be able to marry. Like, I haven't heard that with these takes. I'm talking about someone in your position in the 20s. Is it okay for you to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
But teenager, even bringing up this term that has nothing to do with child and adult. So there's two phases. You're a child, and then you physically mature.
I don't know why you can't just answer that directly.
I'm saying the difference between a child and adult is when you're physically and when you're biologically, when you're mentally ready to have kids. That's the teenager is not even. So you added another term in this. It goes child and then adult. You mature, and then you're physically ready.
Well, I didn't add it. You brought in two 16-year-olds. We were talking about an adult and a 15 or 16-year-old. I was not the one that brought this into the equation.
Right. If it's illegal,
So, like,
if it's illegal, because we believe in Islam, we believe that we should obey the law of the land. If that's illegal,
Okay.
if that's not permissible, then we don't do it. We don't break the law.
But we're not. I'm talking about your personal beliefs. Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
To someone in their 20s should be. I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know many people who would do it. The maturity for people and the teenagers in the West is getting much worse. But there are.
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for? And I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore. Anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Well,
Why would I tell them
because
if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
But they're still, like, they're at best a sophomore in high school. They can't consent to something like that. Like, do you think a
Okay, so now it's
16-year-old can
sophomore in
consent to
high
something
school
like that?
versus senior in high school. What's the difference? Like, what's the difference
I'm
maturity
just saying,
wise?
like, I'm giving you a perspective on where that age would be in life. Like, they can't consent to something like that.
That's
do you
that's
think
probably
differently, I guess?
you're bringing up an outlier that's probably not going to happen as much. I'm saying that these are arbitrary reasons to say, like, a sophomore versus a senior in high school. How much different were you really maturity wise? It wasn't that much of a difference. The reason that you keep saying 18 is because in California, where they post Hollywood movies, it's 18. And so everybody across the world, this is the standard that we believe in. This is the correct age, exactly on the dot. And if it's anything under that, are you going to say here that if a 21-year-old got married to a 17-year-old who was almost 18, is that 21-year-old a pedophile?
I would say that is a morally bad thing to do for sure.
Not morally bad. Not morally bad. Is that?
I wouldn't call them a pedophile.
So when does somebody become a
a
pedophile?
I would say when you have this position, you are.
You're not answering the question.
And you are. I'm explaining it.
Okay.
When you are in your 20s and you start preying upon someone who is still a child, a 15, 16, 14, anything under 18, a 21 and a 17-year-old.
But you still haven't specifically defined what a child is.
I did.
So then why? Okay, there you go. So if pedophile is love of children, and your definition of adult starts at 18, if the 21-year-old marries a 17-year-old who's turning 18 tomorrow, he is a pedophile based off your definition.
As I said, if he would wait, he would not be. Then yeah,
well, not wait. Based off your
play ball with
definition, that person's
in that
a
position. There is no reason to not wait for the legally established, agreed upon definition of when you stop being a child.
Okay, so now we get into the question of whether the pedophile thing, is that a moral answer or a legal answer? Because it seems like morally, it's pretty much, okay, it's almost there. That morally, that's not a pedophile. Legally, it is. But those are two different things.
But they don't need to be. They can coexist. You recognize that, right?
No.
Like,
then that's when you muddy up morality with the law. Now you're allowing the government to determine morality, and that's where things get muddied up, because if they changed it with like they did before, like 200 years ago in the 1800s when it was the age of 10, that was fine. Legally back then, they were not a pedophile. Today, legally, they are a pedophile. pedophile. There's no consistency there.
But
You
we
can't
had-
allow
there
the
is.
you
we
can't
have
allow the
grown.
government to determine morality because it changes all the time. Tomorrow, if the U.S. government legalized bestiality, if the government legalized incest, based off your logic, there'd be no reason why that's wrong. Can I ask you, Moise, do you think that incest is wrong?
Yes.
Why is incest wrong?
There is under no circumstances any excuse for anyone of the same bloodline to be romantic like that. By no means at all.
Why?
I really think it should be pretty obvious why.
I don't know why. I'm asking you.
Even I know where you're going with this because I've heard this argument from another streamer before about like the ethics of incest. If they don't have a kid and thus don't pass down like bad genes that lead to a bad child. I've heard this before.
But I want to hear your answer, because are we going with legal or are we going to follow some sort of morality,
It is
some
both.
sort of consistent morality? Why is incest wrong?
Incest is wrong because I believe that no family dynamic should ever include a sexual relation.
Why?
I don't think that because it is not healthy. It is a bad thing to do. It
Why-
is
you're
a
going-
horrible thing to subject someone to.
But why is it horrible? Because who told you that?
It's what I believe. And also, if you do have a child with your own kin, the child suffers.
Okay, but say it's two gay brothers, Chris Tyson and other Chris Tyson and Chris. If they're two brothers and they decide to be in a no, genuine question. It's what you believe in. I want to figure out where your beliefs come from. You personally believe that.
My beliefs come from a place of what I believe to be moral, where I don't believe that anyone in the same family has any position to be romantic with one another. I don't think
So
that that's a
your
healthy
morality
dynamic.
comes from yourself?
My morality comes from like the world around me. I don't have.
Okay, so
brothers or
if the
sisters or anything
morality
like
comes
that.
from the
So-
world around you, then by your logic, if you lived in America in the 1800s where the age of 10 was okay and where the age of 7 was okay in England just 200 years ago, if you followed the world around you, that would be okay. That was fine.
And it's not now because we've evolved past then. Like
Right.
we are significantly further along to recognize this was a bad thing. People evolve. Like people here we'll go even stupider with this.
So your morality,
Like the
morality is ever changing. It changes with
Yes,
people.
morality is changing. Like you are not born and then stay the same the entire time. As you take in more information,
Okay.
as you grow, so does your understanding
Okay,
of the world.
so,
That's how it
so
should
let's
be.
let's see where this
Opinions
goes.
change,
Let's see where this.
perspectives change.
Okay, let's say we continue this, and morality is ever changing. And then you, Moist Critical, you're living in America, and now everyone around you now believes incest is okay, as long as you don't have a child that's going to come out deformed. You have
Then I would disagree with it.
so your morality does not come from those around you. It comes from somewhere. If your morality comes from around you, you would agree with everybody that's there. You would agree with the government.
it's-
You would agree with the law of
it's-
the land. Where would you
Because
get?
everyone
if
has
you-
their own individuality.
Individuality has nothing to do with morals. Your
It
personal
does, because your morals are formed from your personal experiences
No.
and from what you take in around you, from the people around you.
Okay, but if you take it in from the people around you, then incest would be okay if everybody was
No,
doing
it
it.
wouldn't. If you personally didn't agree with it, it wouldn't be. Like if you want, like I don't know why you're doing the argument a little incorrectly, but I know where you're trying to go. But the point is, like the fact of the matter is, people will always have their own perspectives on things, unless of course you just follow what you are told 100% of the time. Like for you, you're pushing back against the age of consent because you don't like being told that this is what it is based on this. You believe that, well, actually, there's a couple other extenuating circumstances in these cases.
That's not what I believe in. My belief comes from something that's consistent. It comes from the Islamic way.
It is.
It comes from the Islamic way because nothing else makes sense. The Western way is always adapting, and now we allow people to change their genders, something that was admonishable only 10 years ago. See, you're following the ever-changing morality. Only 10 years ago, a man becoming a woman was a mental illness. It was something that was shamed upon. 10 years ago, if Chris Tyson was going on a Mr. Beast video and he was there dressed up like a girl, and he was saying that I'm taking puberty blockers, hormone blockers, everybody would admonish him. In a lot of places, he would be excommunicated. He would say, absolutely, I do not want kids to take hormone blockers and change themselves forever. But today, that's allowed. Today, that's pushed. Today, that's okay. And then everybody else kind of falls into suit. There are a small minority of people in the West, people that believe in God, they say that this is absolutely wrong, and then they get banned for it. You can't follow the people that are around you, the ever-changing morality.
You can't follow a line of questioning. You keep going off onto these tangents. Look, at the end of the day, man,
It's not a tangent.
You can believe whatever
It's
you
not a
want to
tangent.
believe, but
You-
the point is, people are always going.
No,
to
no,
have
no,
their
no, 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 no.
perspectives.
You
I don't see
can't.
that.
You cannot believe just whatever you want to believe. You cannot.
That's what you are doing.
If you believe bestiality is wrong, you should not be in society. If you believe incest is okay, you should not be within the community. You should be excommunicated. These are things that there's some certain morality that should supersede the government. That should supersede something. The government
And
should
that's
not.
the age of consent for you.
It's not the age of consent. It's
you should stay on topic here. Because
staying on
these
topic.
Are going, what you are doing is you are deflecting to other topics. You have still not directly said that you think it is a bad thing for an adult to marry a child. Like, you are still unable to say that. Now,
But you haven't even defined child.
I have. My definition is anything under 18. If you're under
That's
18, you're
exactly what a
And
child
you-
is.
Yeah, I think that is a great line in the sand. If you are under 18, you are a child.
It's not a great line of sand. But that's not even the definition of child.
Who-
You're
who
going
cares?
off of your
Who
own
cares, though?
definition.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Like, who cares? Yes, why? If 18 is the established point, you are out of high school going to college. If that is the point where everyone has agreed you're an adult past this point, why argue against it?
Why argue?
What is-
Because
why?
because if the government decides to push the age of high school, if they tried to lower it, if they said that you can vote at a different age, then your morality changes based off of the law. And I'm saying that you need to have a consistent morality that does not change with the government and that does not change with the people that live in your country. It has to supersede that. You can't just say
Why?
because of high school, because of college, this is the set in stone age forever.
Okay, I want you, SNEAKO, to set an age in stone right now for the age of consent, age of marriage. What is that to you?
I told you that there is no age of marriage. It has to be
Now, do
based
you
off
see why that's a
maturity,
problem?
and it has to be based off of whether it's going to be
So-
harmful, and it has to be based off the consent of the parents. It has to
Who
be
decides
healthy.
that?
If I want to marry a girl, I have to first ask her father. I have to ask her brother,
And the father's perfect. The father knows what's best for the child at all
and I
times.
have to ask her
Every father
mother,
knows.
and the daughter has to consent. If all three parties are consenting, and then my family's consenting, that's fine. That's what a
And it's
marriage should
and
be
it's
based upon.
Okay. All that happens, and it's a 14-year-old. Now what?
If the 14-year-old is mature and I'm 16, say I went through puberty as well,
not 16,
and
you're
I'm
in your
17 or I'm 18. See, the problem with this is that you have a specific idea of where the age is. But if I'm 17 and I'm mature and I meet a 14, a 15-year-old and I'm okay, I'm mature, my family's okay. I asked the daughter,
You're not
I asked
17,
the
you are
daughter's
in your
father for the
20s.
hand of marriage.
You're in your 20s.
I went on
Does it
this
change?
already. I went on this already.
Does it change?
Your scenario earlier was if a 16 and a 21-year-old, both parties were consent, if the father was okay with it, the mother was okay with it, why not? Give me a reason why tell me a reason why that's wrong. Because you're
One
getting
is a child, one is not a child. That's the point. So the 14-year-old, all of those criteria we just checked, you're in your 20s.
The definition that we just agreed upon, that's not true. Child is somebody that is not physically mature yet. It has nothing to do
That
with
is
18.
not what we agreed upon. We agreed upon 18.
You agreed.
Most of the
No, we didn't
society
agree
has
with that.
agreed at 18.
That's not true. That's not true across the whole world.
Like, sensible people, even your own community has agreed upon 18 for the most part. So I've seen a lot of the tweets when you go on these tangents. Most people say it should be 18, and SNEAKO's arguing that parts of the world are different, so it gets muddy. But the agreed upon for the majority of people is 18.
That's not true.
So
That's just not true across the world.
So you see when you argue against that, why it looks so weird. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand because people have been brainwashed with this. Okay, let me ask you this: people in Europe,
brainwashing is concerning.
Okay, are people? So the majority of Europe is 16. Is everybody in Europe who abides by that? Who abides by the law? Are they pedophiles?
Yeah, in my
They are?
eyes, 100%. And
Okay.
in European society, too.
Fine.
If you have someone in their 20s that is and marrying a 16-year-old, they, too, are excommunicated.
No,
from
not excommunicated. Are
society.
they pedophiles?
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Okay, so the majority of people that follow the law in Europe are pedophiles according to Critical.
If
Yes
they
or-
are
it's-
in
it's a
their,
yes
if
or
they
no?
are an adult, under 18-year-old, even if it's 16 legally, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And in America, the majority of the states, it's 16. Are those people who follow the law of the land, are they pedophiles for following the... So the majority...
You keep saying the law of the land.
That's what it is. The majority
It's
of
not.
states, it's 16.
So if I want you right now, SNEAKO, if you go to any of those states where it's 16 and you fuck a 16-year-old, it's statutory rape. It is still statutory rape. It doesn't apply. That's not what that means. That's not how that works.
We went in circles. The Romeo and Juliet laws don't apply for most people. And even without that, even without the Romeo and Juliet laws, if it was 16 and all the countries that is 16, are those people pedophiles?
As I just said, yes.
Okay.
In those countries too.
Okay.
These.
So, but do you realize what you're saying? What you are saying,
in those countries,
most people who follow, what you're saying, based off this logic, most people in the world are pedophiles if they follow the law.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
If the law is under 18, I would say yes.
Okay. So, but that's not the law, because the most of the world, as we established, most of the world is not 18. So you're saying if the majority of the world follows the law and they exercise their rights, they do exactly what they're good citizens, and they follow the law where it's 16, you are saying the majority of the world contains pedophiles. Even if they don't even act upon it, even if they agree that, okay, one day, maybe I could, out of wedlock, I could fuck a 16-year-old.
Because those
just the thought.
But yes, if there is an adult, as I've said many times, if there is an adult, and I'm defining an adult as someone who is,
we know.
We'll go deeper. We'll make it even simpler. Your age. If there is someone that is your age and they are f***ing a 16-year-old.
Why my age now? I thought it was 18. I thought it was 18.
I just gave a number because you were.
But you gave a number earlier.
18.
You said 18.
18. Yeah, I was just trying to make it easier. 18. If there is an adult that is f***ing a 16-year-old, even in a country where it says 16 is okay, then yes, absolutely. Now, in the case of the 18, 16-year-old, that's where Romeo and Juliet kicks in. But if it is someone in their 20s, in their 30s, f***ing a 16-year-old, that is literally statutory rape in pretty much everywhere in the world.
Right. Based off your logic, you realize this, that if a 19-year-old has sex with a 17-year-old, they should go to jail. They're pedophiles.
That is Romeo and Juliet, unless it's an 18, then yeah, wait till they're 18.
Okay, but a lot of states don't even have Romeo and Juliet. In Europe, they don't have that. The places, your Romeo and Juliet is an American thing. And in Europe, a lot of these places, if a 19-year-old has sex with a 17-year-old, your logic, they should go to jail. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it is absolutely going to be one of those things where there is an agreed upon age. If it's 18, it's 18.
So yes,
follow it.
A 19-year-old in a relationship with a 17-year-old should go to jail.
Well, no, okay. I guess, like I said, it will all depend on where that is located. So to give an example, Call Me Carson and that, I think it was a 17-year-old, I think he was 19 and 17. Like, that could be a high school relationship. And I don't remember where that took place, but the big problem there is apparently he was getting nudes. That's child porn. Like, that's a huge issue. 19 and 17, that's only a 2-year age gap. So that is applicable under things like Romeo and Juliet. So even if it is under 18 in the place you come from, that's an extenuating circumstance. But that's not what we're talking about. You keep bringing it back down to reasonable places. But what you argue for is things like when you legally can drive, you can legally get married and have sex.
Yes, when you are physically mature, when you're ready to drive a car, you should be able to. There's a lot of people that have jobs that need to do things. So a lot of people aren't ready to drive cars. They're not physically, they're not mentally mature yet to drive a car. They shouldn't drive a car at 16. It should be based off maturity. The same thing has to do with sex. The reason I keep saying this is because you have these set in stone numbers. And if you were to lay the law of the land, if we follow your laws, if we follow your criteria, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, he's consenting, she's consenting, the parents are happy, they're happy, they want to get married, they're ready to go, you're putting them in jail. That doesn't make any sense. Because of this,
Romeo and Juliet kicks in. Like, I don't know what's hard to understand about that. Places where that doesn't exist, I guess I'm not too familiar with how those. A lot of
places they don't. A lot of places they don't. And this is why it's arbitrary. So and based off your standards, when is the Romeo and Juliet? How long can that extend?
Those are teenagers. A 17 and a 19-year-old, those are both teenagers.
Okay, now they're teenagers, but you just said 18 was an adult.
Yes, they are.
You see how the definitions keep changing? They keep changing. So far in this conversation, you changed it so many times. You said 18's an adult. No, you said, but listen, because you did. I heard you double up a couple times. I
know what you're going to harp on here.
No, you did. You said 18's an adult, and then you said adults like you. Because you think 25 is an adult now. Because that's when you're. Why? So why is it? Let me ask you this. Why is it not 20? Why is it not 25?
It's because that's not what was established. Like,
no, I'm asking you because you believe in personal beliefs. I believe in some. My morality comes from the Quran. You believe in personal beliefs. Why is it not 25? 25 is when the frontal cortex is fully developed. That's when you're done maturing.
I couldn't tell you why it's not 25. I have no clue. I don't know why the drinking age is 21. I don't know. But they are agreed upon rules.
They're agreed upon rules, just like the drinking age, just like the voting age. They're agreed upon rules, and a lot of them don't make any sense. Why is drinking 21?
But I do think 18 does. There is a good reason for it. You are out of high school. You are going to live on your own. You're going to college. I think that is a good reason.
Yeah, maybe in the 1980s, but nowadays people don't leave the house until 24, 25, until they're my age. A lot of people don't. People are not financially ready. People are still immature. There's 18-year-olds I know that are more mature than people my age, and there's 25-year-olds that are more immature than 18-year-olds. It's arbitrary now. It depends on personal experience. It depends on individual maturity.
But there needs to be something defined in your rule here.
And I'm saying there is something defined. I'm saying there is.
A 14-year-old, in your definition, could literally marry an adult. That's a problem. In your world, a 14-year-old can marry an adult.
Yeah, in my world, two 14-year-olds could be adults. I'm telling you, I don't see
why that's weird.
Two 14-year-olds, you don't think that two 14-year-olds could be married?
No, absolutely not. No, under no circumstances do I think two 14-year-olds can marry.
Can two 16-year-olds?
Let alone a 14 and a 20-year-old or whatever.
Okay, can two 16-year-olds be married?
No, I don't think
why is it wrong if so a 16-year-old, because the age of consent is across the world, so many places 16, if they can go have frivolous sex with a lot of people, if they can go fuck around, if they can do deviant things, if they can change their gender, why can they not get married? Sex change, like Chris from Mr. Beast, these people could take hormone blockers. Listen, you're not listening. This is the point. You could take hormone blockers, you could take puberty blockers, okay, when you're a child. When you're 16, you can go change your gender, but you can't get married? Why is that?
That's I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty obvious question.
No, it's not. It's not. See, if you cut your penis off, like Chris from Mr. Beast, if you cut your penis off, that is a life-altering decision. You can't glue it back on. You can get divorced if you get married. This is a commitment that you're taking. A child, based off of the liberal point of view that you believe in, they can have gender surgery. They can change forever. If somebody can have, do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child... I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay, 100%. But so everyone has the right to do with their body, but not when it comes to a sacred marriage where they have kids, where they add to society.
That's no longer just you.
That is your body.
Bringing someone in.
Okay, you're still bringing in the doctor to use the scissors to snip off your penis.
He's not there for the rest of your life. He's not constantly there at your fucking house monitoring you.
You don't need to be there. You're not glued to your wife. You're not there like Siamese twins. You
are a 16-year-old. You are entirely reliant on this adult that you've now brought in.
No, you're not. You can tell parents, maybe I'm making my own money. I'm not reliant. If I'm 16 and I marry a 21-year-old and I'm making a lot of money and I'm doing well and I'm independent, I'm not reliant upon her. Not only that, the person that you just put through transgender therapy, now they need to go to therapy once a week. Now they need to go to the pharmacist once a week. Look how many people are involved now. Now they're going to therapy groups. Now they're online. They're making YouTube videos. They're in a Mr. Beast challenge. This person is relying on so many people. And they also have... You're cutting out again. You're cutting out. Chad, is it me or him? Chad, is he cutting his internet out? But I don't want to leave this point.
Okay.
Why? I want to hear a clear answer that makes sense. Because you said it's because you're relying on other people. But I've established that a trans person is relying on the pharmacist, is relying on the therapy.
I didn't say that. I didn't say relying. I said you are making a personal decision yourself. You are making a decision for you. When you are making a decision about marriage, you're bringing someone else in that is now not just you.
Just because you're bringing someone else in does not change the fact that it's a personal decision. Marriage is it's consent. It is deciding yes, regardless of the other person. But it's still a personal decision.
A child can't possibly wrap their head around this adult that has been preying on them Like, I don't know why you can't see that. A 16-year-old can't be making this decision on this adult who is convincing them that I am the right choice for you for life.
Right. But a 9-year-old boy can go into a clinic and decide that doctor, that 40-year-old doctor, can cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make, that doesn't bother me. It absolutely does not bother me.
Okay. So then why is it that bringing someone else into that marriage, why does that then make it wrong?
Because it could be an adult with a child, which is that is an unacceptable dynamic under every possible circumstance.
In the doctor's office, in that gender therapy forever, it's still an adult and a child cutting off the penis, Moist.
You are not living with that doctor. You have made a decision.
You're living with the decision of that doctor to cut the penis off. It's still living with the decision of another person too.
And that's life. You live with decisions. Some people might regret it, sure. But within this marriage with an adult, that is a decision that is now, once they are in your life, it can be out of your hands. You can have this adult come in and just start beating the shit out of you. You can have all kinds of things. When you're with getting your penis cut off, you have made a decision.
Okay, you're saying you can get beat up? You can still get beat up out of marriage.
You absolutely can. But a child is never going to be thinking about things like that because they can't. A child can't consent to marrying an adult.
So why is a child smart enough to decide that he's now a woman that needs puberty blockers and cutting his penis off, but he can't decide upon marrying somebody that he's in love with?
How does he know he's in love with them?
It's a feeling. It's something that you know. You talk to your family, you decide. How does a child
being in love with an adult?
Yes,
I think a sensible family.
Yes,
would probably
I'm 16. I meet a 21-year-old woman. I say, "Mom, Dad, I'm in love with this girl. I want to marry her. I feel like I'm in love. She's the right person for me. I want to do it." She's like, "Yes, yes, yes." Everyone's good. But a 9-year-old could say, "Mom, Dad, I want to cut my penis off," and you're going to say that's good. But a 16-year-old who feels in love, who's ready to commit, who's financially independent, that person cannot get married.
A 16-year-old will never be financially independent, A, and B.
Oh, you should see my whole team. Yes, do you know how many people that I work with that are financially ready?
You work with a lot of 16-year-olds?
Yes,
that are
I do.
Financially ready?
I work with the person who runs my Telegram. I have clippers. I have a lot of teenagers who are making more than my professors. They are ready. They're mentally, these people are mature. They're boxing every single day. They are more mature than a lot of the 24-year-olds I know that I went to school with that are still in their hometown doing nothing, eating popcorn every day and cutting their dick off like you believe. These people are ready to go because maturity changes for different people. For you to decide that a kid could cut his off, but he can't get married makes absolutely no sense, and that's a society that crumbles. That's a society that allows next year incest.
The society that flourishes is the one where a 14-year-old can marry someone in their 20s, SNEAKO. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Marriage is how society progresses because you need to create more life. Children should only be within a marriage. They should only be conceived within a marriage where they're not going around sleeping with different people, where they're not confused, where they're not a part of the community that has the highest suicide rate. They should not be a part of that. I want to be in a society full of happy married people that are ready to have children, that are God-fearing.
And those happy married people are sometimes in your world 14, 15, 16 years old.
Absolutely. If they are ready,
that's so fucked
if they
up,
are
though.
ready
Why
to get
don't you
married
see
to,
that?
but see, you're so hung up on the fact that it could be an older person. Okay, if a 16-year-old is fine, what if a 16-year-old Moise meets another 16-year-old in a place?
We've already gone over that.
Okay, if 16 in a place where the age of consent is 16, which is most of the country, right? Let's go off that. There's no Romeo and Juliet laws. Two 16-year-olds meet, they want to. Can they do that?
In a place where the age of consent is 16, if it's two 16-year-olds, yeah, absolutely.
Can they get married?
That's never what we've been talking about.
Can they get married?
If it's legal for them to marry at 16, sure they can.
No, it's not.
That's
In
fine.
America, you have to be 18 to get married.
Then wait. Then they should wait.
Okay,
yeah.
so they're both pedophiles?
No, there's no adult in that situation. They're both the same age.
The point this is where it goes back. The point I'm making is that you cannot follow the law. You cannot rely upon the government on these arbitrary numbers. The reason you believe in 18 is because you live in America right now where the age is 18. If you lived
you do too, though.
No, I don't.
You just said it. You wouldn't. So you don't believe it's at 18. So you're going to go fuck a 15.
This is not my personal preference, Moise. That has nothing to do with my personal preference.
Well, answer that question. You just said you don't. Are you going to go fuck a 15-year-old in a place where you can?
That is not my. I don't want to have.
Just say yes or no. Just
no,
say yes or no.
I do not have sex out of wedlock. I've repeated this before. My point is,
had plenty of sex out of wedlock. When you were sexually active, would you have gone and fucked a 15-year-old?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so then you two also still abide by
Because
it.
we believe in abiding the laws of we don't break the law, but you're applying the law of the land to morality, and that's where things get confused because morality is not defined based off the government. If we followed morality, listen, if we followed morality defined based off the government, then we would say that the war that's happening in Israel and Palestine is justified because the government is sending billions of dollars there. You cannot rely on the government upon that because the government can be flawed. Morality does not come from these people that are elected. Morality comes from God. That's the only place that it can come from. Because if you were around, if you follow your logic, if you were around people, all of them, that thought incest was okay, that thought bestiality was okay, you would follow it because you follow the people that are around. That's the only reason you believe 18. Because that's what you see in Hollywood movies. Because that's what the government told you as an adult. Not because it's something a personal...
It is the agreed upon age. There's
just, but you keep saying that it's not even agreed. That's not
never go down.
That's not true. Well, it's not even.
It shouldn't go down.
It's not even agreed upon. And nowhere.
It is. It is though. Most people, if you right now, have you had sex with a 16-year-old as an adult, SNEAKO?
No, I have not.
Okay. If you did, how do you think people would respond to it, even in your own community? If you said that you had sex with a 16-year-old,
they would be completely disgusted.
Exactly, because most people agree at a certain level needs to be established, and that level is 18. So under no circumstances should a 14, 15, 16-year-old be getting married and having sex with an adult.
Okay, let's go to the Dr. Disrespect situation because there was a lot of hypocrisy, right? He messaged a 17-year-old. That's
not true. Show me the evidence of him messaging a 17-year-old.
I haven't seen any evidence. See, all the streamers all the streamers within your community, they were so quick to admonish Dr. Disrespect without seeing any evidence at all. We saw Chris Tyson, and then they waited 3 days like you to post a video.
I did it within like 6 hours.
No, you didn't. I did. Okay, if you decided...
What are you talking about? The full video came out less than 24 hours after the initial break of all of the information, and I had that first video go.
How long did it take for the Dr. Disrespect video to come out?
Over 24 hours.
Did it? How long did it take for you to tweet?
And in the first
how
video,
long did it take for you to tweet?
How there's no concrete evidence of who he was talking to.
How long did it take for you to tweet?
I waited till his second response, so that was 3 days later.
It was 3 days. You didn't tweet right away?
Nope.
Okay, then you were the outlier, and most streamers, all of them, they waited. They didn't say anything. They wanted the Mr. Beast collab, but that's besides the point. Most critical. If you DM'd a girl that was 17 years old, 364 days, should everybody be disgusted with you?
I think that would be pretty disgusting. Yeah, I don't think you should be communicating with someone under 18, no matter what.
Okay,
if you want to,
it's not. Is that disgusting?
Yeah, I think it's disgusting.
You wait a day.
Like Cody Co having sex with Hannah when she's 17. I think that's disgusting.
Okay, say she's 17 years old, 364 days. He waits one more day. Is he still disgusting?
I still think in that position, yeah. I think that's still a huge power dynamic issue that you're getting into with that one. But
wait. That's disgusting. But I thought you said 18 was an adult.
Well, yeah, it is. Like, you're not going to jail. But
okay, so now it's disgusting for two adults to have sex?
It's disgusting for someone to be using this kind of position in the example you're giving. That's a power dynamic issue.
But so Cody Co waits one more day, then they have sex, and he's still disgusting. But it's two adults. Why is that disgusting?
People are still, like, I would be upset hearing that. Cody Co was in a different position than Tana at the time, and he was also in a much different place. And even if he waited till 18, while it's not illegal, it still wouldn't be a good thing. It's not something to celebrate.
Not celebrate, but you think it's disgusting. You think it's reprehensible.
I think it would be a bad thing, for sure. Yeah, I don't think it would be a good thing.
Is he a pedophile?
No, he would not be a pedophile.
Okay.
And I also...
Okay, he's not a pedophile. The day before, 17, 364 days, is he a pedophile?
No, I think yes.
Yes?
Let's just we're going to use a agreed upon definition. If you don't wait till 18, you will we'll just do pedophile.
There you go.
People like to argue a beefophile or whatever it's called, but let's just say if you fuck someone under 18, you are a pedophile. You're a pedophile.
Yeah. So this is just like the word misogynistic. I get called a misogynistic all the time, right? I was just in France recently, and there was a girl literally massaging my head. She's 27 years old. She's massaging my hair standing on the street, and a soy boy comes up to me with earrings. He says, "I hate you. You're a misogynist." He says, "I hate you." And he doesn't know, and I ask him, like, what does misogynist mean? He doesn't know, right? The same reason that your definition of pedophile does not even follow the actual definition of the word is the same thing when people throw around the term misogynist and they don't know what it means. That's what happens when you get to throw around.
As I just said, I know it's not the definition of the word, but we're just using terms so we can all be on the same page.
Okay, but words have meanings for a reason. You can't just make up a definition of a word.
It's a beefophile. If you have sex with someone under 18 but over 12, you're in a beefophile or whatever it's called.
Okay, so he's not a pedophile anymore. You just change it. So now he's a beebophile?
Well, I'd still use just that word. It's bad. Yeah. If you are having sex with like a 16, 17-year-old, it's bad pedophile behavior.
Okay, so it's not it's not a beebophile anymore, it's a pedophile.
You're talking about terms. The correct term is a
I want to figure out because,
stupid.
Moise, we can't have a discussion if we don't define terms.
You were the one that immediately got mad that I used pedophile incorrectly to just do a blanket term for
Exactly.
under 18.
I didn't get mad, but I'm pointing out, if we define a term and then you change the definition of the term within the conversation, then the conversation
I'm not
makes
changing the term. You got upset because it's not the strict definition of pedophile. It is someone that hasn't gone through puberty, but we're using just this term to refer to anyone under 18.
Okay, so we're using
you were upset
words.
it wasn't a textbook definition.
So we're using words, and we don't care about their meaning anymore.
You're doing the same thing.
No, I'm following. I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm following your line of logic. We're using
It's
a
not
word.
a- it's not a gotcha, it's just not a
Cody
good
Co.
point.
So Cody Co is a pedophile based off your logic. Cody Co is a pedophile even though he's not a pedophile.
We're using that term. Yeah, he had sex with a
It's
17-year-old.
it's not. We're not just
pedophile,
using. We're not
sure.
using the term. It's
It's
either.
statutory rape. It's statutory rape.
That's not what I'm not talking about. Statutory. I'm asking you if is he.
That's the legal term. It's statutory rape, having sex with a 17-year-old after you're an adult.
So you change the term again. It was first beebophile, now pedophile, now statutory rape. Which one? Which one? See, the reason that I'm having this discussion with you is you can't use arbitrary words that have no meaning to apply to somebody because that's how you cancel somebody. That's how you just say things around, and that's how you get to shame somebody, ruin their reputation. And that's when words lose all meaning. And if we lose the meaning of words, then society makes no sense. Then nothing makes any sense. Then kids can cut their off.
But
You
you're
no,
doing the
Moise,
same
you're not
thing.
understanding what I'm saying. You need to have words need to have meanings. Or else everything
do.
crumbles. Or else
And right now-
the very fabric of society does not make sense if we're using words that don't have meaning.
We are. Age of consent has meaning. It's 18, and you are the one that's trying to redefine it.
You're going back.
You're-
You just said that he's a pedophile, but he's not a pedophile. It's statutory rape, but
And
he's a
you're
pedophile.
dodging what I'm saying.
But
The core
I'm not
issue
dodging.
that
I'm
I
not
wanted to
dodging.
talk about was
You're,
that, and
you're
you keep
calling
dodging
it. You're
it.
calling him a pedophile because it fits, but he's not because it's a bad word because it's morally bad. But he's not a pedophile because it's this day.
No,
the words you're
you
using do
keep
not make
making-
sense.
You talk in circles.
I'm not talking in circles.
You wanted one term to encompass what I believe under 18. And since I used pedophile and it's not the textbook definition, I said the textbook one would be in a beebophile. Or statutory rape is the charge of what it would be. It's a crime.
Okay. Do words need to have definitions?
Yes, and so does the age of consent.
When we use the English language, should the words that we use match the definition of the word?
Yes.
Yes, you're not doing that.
You don't want... Statutory rape, then. We won't use colloquialism.
There you go.
It's
So
statutory rape.
within this conversation, you change it.
Statutory rape.
Cody Co is no longer a pedophile. He's a statutory rapist. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
he a beebophile still or just a statutory rapist?
Statutory rape.
Okay, so he's not a beebophile.
No, we won't use that term.
It's not we won't you're saying we won't use because you're operating within a bubble of cancel culture. Do you need
No,
to
it's not cancel culture. It's just, it's a 17... Do you think him f***ing a 17-year-old's a big deal?
No, I don't. I think it's bad. I don't think he should have sex out of wedlock. I don't think that's something to be. I don't think that's like incredible. I don't think that's a. But do I think that like she was? I think she was physically mature. I don't think that she was like traumatized from it. I think she's clout chasing going at every single podcast. Do I think that he's a pedophile? No. She looked like she was mature. She looked like she definitely went through puberty. Definitely wasn't the first person she had sex with, and maybe it was in a state where the age was 16. So legally, based off the definition, no. Morally, based off the definition, no. It was in Florida. So isn't it? What is the age of there? 17.
18.
You sure?
I'm almost positive.
See, you don't even know. So now you're trying to think, wait, is he a pedophile or not? It's either she's a child or she's not. These are very simple definitions that we need to follow. And if we follow, you're Googling it, if we follow your line of thinking, that's when things get crazy. That's when kids can cut their penises off. That's when I'm a woman right now.
Kids can marry at 14 and 15 in your ideal world.
You know what's so silly about the situation is when you talked about Chris Tyson, did you see the number one viral clip I saw? And I know you saw it. Did you see it?
Which one?
People were getting angry at you that you misgendered Chris Tyson.
I didn't misgender anybody though. I only referred to Ava by her name.
I heard that.
I heard misgendering.
I saw the clip that went viral. It was they.
Well, yeah, I used they, but I only used her name, and I used they when referring to most people in general. I say they a lot. And when I was at the Mr. Beast thing, Ava was referred to by they by one of the staff, so I just played it safe and said Ava. And I didn't want to offend anybody because I am not transphobic. Like, I never have been. I don't have hate in my heart.
They're calling you transphobic.
I know.
The people that live within your frame of thinking, the Western civilization mind, that hive mind, they're calling you a transphobe now for calling Chris pedophile Tyson a they. What do you think about that?
It hurts. I don't like to see it, but it is what it is. I should have looked into the preferred pronouns more. I just made an assumption that we'll just be safe and use Ava's name. Like, that's think to go beyond that.
That points out the problem, the flaw of thinking of Western civilization, this liberal mind. When somebody gets exposed for messaging children and saying, like, this guy was exposed for liking lolly porn.
Dr. Disrespect.
Yeah, Dr. Disrespect, that's the same thing. What he did was wrong. Both are wrong.
You defended him, though.
No, I didn't.
You still, even in this conversation,
I never defended Dr. Disrespect. Never. What did I say that defended him? What I said was I'm pointing out the flaw. Everybody's so quick to hate him, but then Chris Tyson comes along and all those people are silent.
No,
right?
Even before.
No. I never defended him. No, I never defended him. What he's doing is wrong. He's a married man. He shouldn't be doing that. I said that he should not be doing that, and what he did was wrong.
But you said that the 17-year-old thing is not a big deal at all.
Right? Yeah, I don't.
You made up.
It's not. It's not.
But
it's bad. He should not. He should not do it. Does that make him a pedophile? No. My point is, Chris Tyson, what he did is absolutely wrong. Like, what Dr. Disrespect is wrong. The point is, Chris Tyson gets exposed for messaging actual children, and the woke mob that you're controlled by, they get mad at you for misgendering instead of the fact that this guy is actually messaging children. This is the world that we live in now. You do a video condemning a pedophile, an actual pedophile, and instead of talking about that, they focus, and the clip that goes viral is Moist Critical misgenders Chris Tyson the pedophile. Insanity world. You can't follow the ever-changing morality of the West because then it's misgendering is going to be canceled. And it's on Twitch, you can't even misgender. You can't say there's two genders on Twitch on the platform you're on. That's the reason you're not streaming right now. This is the problem. You need to have consistent morality.
I just wanted to have a conversation with you again. That's all. I wasn't going to stream it or anything.
I know, but I'm saying this conversation. If you
just said that's why I wasn't. But
well, if you had this conversation on Twitch, you would get in trouble. The point is, if the ever-changing rules of this Western thing, where they keep adapting, love is love. First it's gays, then it's LGBT, then it's LGBTQIA, and then it's just accept them, and then it's cut their penises off, and then it's take hormones, and then it's kids can take hormones, and then it's kids can cut their off, and then they're parading through the streets, and then they're waving their dicks out in the park in public.
We can do this same song and dance with your ideal world too. You're not setting anything defined. Your age of maturity is not a number. You haven't put a number on it. That leads to the same thing. Well, all of a sudden, it's okay for a 14-year-old to marry a 16-year-old. Well, why is it okay for that, but not a 12-year-old to marry a 16-year-old? Like, you can keep doing
I am drawing a line, but what you're not understanding is
What's the line? What's the line? What's the number?
Maturity. It's not a number.
It's not a number. What is the number? What is the number?
There
needs to be a number, or else you can do the same thing.
I just told you there's not a number.
Do you see why that's a problem?
No.
If there's no defined... So why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet. And most 12-year-olds...
What if as you just said, it changes. What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent? Can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
we're not talking most likely, just say it. Can they do it?
If there's harm involved, then it's not going to happen.
How do you know there's harm involved? You wouldn't know until it happens.
If the family's not going to, if it's not good for the child, if the child's not mentally ready yet, if the child's not mature,
the kid is consented.
If the families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready. Why should I stop
at 12 years old? At 12 years old.
If the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy.
A 12-year-old being physically mature.
If that's the only line that actually makes sense. We've just established how yours doesn't make any sense. We just established how yours makes no sense, right? Because you change your definitions 50 times. I'm saying there is no consistent line. People mature at different ages. Who am I to tell you?
Definition of maturity. You keep saying how it fluctuates.
Yes.
Like you are admitting it fluctuates.
Do you agree that people? Okay. Do people mature at different ages?
People mature at all kinds of different ages.
Exactly.
But there needs to be a set one. Like 18. 18 being an agreed upon one makes it very set in stone with what is and is not acceptable. In your world, you just said a 12-year-old can be physically mature enough to marry an 18-year-old. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a huge. Yes.
I don't encourage. I don't encourage this, but I would much rather live in a society that allows a physically ready, whatever age, if I 14 something, if they're physically ready, the parents consent. I'd much rather live in a society that encourages marriage instead of cutting your penis off. That's the issue. You can't have this.
See, do you see why that's creepy though? So then we'll extend it to you. Let's say, again, all of this is going through the SNEAKO utopias here. You got 14-year-olds marrying, all of this. Are you going to play by those rules now? Are you going to start looking at 14-year-olds that might be physically mature?
You've asked me this question 3-4 times, and I've given you the same answer. That's not my personal taste. That's not what I like. I want somebody that's around. I want a girl that's younger than me. I'm 25. I'd rather. Do you know that peak fertility happens when, after you go through puberty? Like when a girl's 16, that's peak fertility.
So you want a peak fertility 16?
I don't. I'd rather a girl. My ideal wife person. If you're gonna ask personal question, my ideal wife is probably 20, 21 years old. When I'm 26, 27, that's the ideal. If she's 24, if she's 23, that's fine. There's an age gap. Okay. And you know what's funny about that? If I'm 25 and if my ideal wife is 20, if you go follow the Romeo and Juliet laws, in a couple years before I'd be a pedophile. Okay. This is why it's silly.
It's not silly though. There needs to be an age. You're not giving an age. You're giving an obtuse definition of maturity, which fluctuates so much from 12 years old to 14 years old.
Let's look up the definition of maturity. If I'm giving an obtuse definition of maturity, let's look it up and see who's following it.
Okay, so now you
and
need to look things
everybody
up
can look
on your beliefs.
I told you what I believe in, and I'm pretty sure this is what the definition of maturity is.
You can't give a number.
The definition of maturity is the state, fact, or period of being mature. You know what it does not say? 18. It does not say an age. Maturity depends on the state.
I want you to say one, because there needs to be one in a society.
Why do you want me to say one?
Because there has to be. There has to be an age. If you don't agree that it's 18, then what should it be? You said when you can legally drive. That makes it 15 or 16.
We're going in circles, and I told you. And I said the age of driving should be the same as the age of consent. You said it's because of maturity, correct?
18 is, yes, 18 is
set
because
no.
that.
You said adulthood means maturity, correct?
Adulthood means over 18, yeah. That's when you are outside of your parents.
No,
Again, you're not a child.
That's not actually what the definition of the word means. You are making up a definition of maturity. Same thing as you did with childhood.
Same thing you're doing with your ideal world. Like, all of it is, you have to have these. They have to be there. Mm-hmm. There needs to be an age. Like, there just has to be. You can't have these arguments where children are marrying adults.
Why do you have to have an age?
Because then you end up in a situation like we just showed with a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old where you said that's okay. That's not.
And why is that wrong?
That is completely wrong. That is a 12-year-old.
Okay, you said the age.
18-year-old.
Remove the age for a second because I think it's confusing you. Why is that wrong?
That is someone who is literally still in middle school. That is someone who is playing with dolls right now.
That's a middle schooler and a high schooler. But why is that wrong? Tell me why that's wrong.
No, it's someone who's going off to college, okay, most likely.
Tell me why that's wrong.
The person going off to college is driving. The person going off to college is working. The person going off to college is in a totally different state than someone who is literally still playing with dolls. Mm-hmm. Like, that is not okay under any circumstances at all.
So you're saying it's because there are different stages in life?
It's a child versus an adult. I guess to even get back a little bit, do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying that it's 18.
Under 18 is child.
And I'm telling you, that's not even the definition of the word. You're having a conversation.
You don't care about definitions most of the time, though. Like, you're not even using a definition for maturity that has an age attached to it that needs to be in place.
Because that's not the definition of maturity. Right? We can't have this conversation if we don't set in stone what these words mean. Child means somebody that is not physically mature. Adult means somebody that's physically mature. That's what those words mean. You are making up, based off of numbers, what defines these words, and that's not even what the words mean. So you can call it beebophile, you can call it statutory rape, you can call that what that is, but that's not what those words mean. And I'll concede to that. If you want to call it those words that actually mean what they say, then fine. But based off child and an adult, you're wrong.
Okay. So then I guess we just won't see eye to eye on it. So
but
you do think
it's not even seeing eye to eye. Why can't you accept the definition of these words? Is the dictionary wrong?
No, like I said, the definitions are fine of these words like maturity and all that, but that does
The
that still
okay, but
needs
not
to
even
have
that. The definition of child is somebody who's not physically mature yet. Are you okay with the definition?
Right,
Simple
yeah,
question.
that's-
Are you
again,
okay with the
that's totally-
definition of child?
That is a fine definition of a child.
Okay. Are you okay with the definition of adult? Somebody who's physically mature?
Yeah, that's a fine definition too.
Then you are on the same page as me. Child and
No,
adult
because I still agree there needs to be a line where these two things get separated. There needs to be a place where this one is a child, this one is an adult.
But then you're being hypocritical. You contradicted yourself, because if now you're agreeing that a child, what separates a child and adult is physical maturity, then it's puberty. And early in this conversation, you said before 18, if someone has sex with someone before 18, they're a pedophile. After 18, they're good. Now you're not saying that. You're going in circles. So it's either
when did I contradict
the definition of pedophile is child lover. Right?
We can
the definition.
get rid of pedophile.
The definition. We define that. Okay, so we define three terms: child, somebody not physically mature; adult, somebody physically mature; pedophile, child lover. Okay. Now, based off those definitions, 18 has nothing to do with it. There's no numbers.
But there needs to be. That's the point I'm making. There needs to be. You can't leave these things up to ambiguous. Well, this person and their family consented to marrying this 13-year-old and their family consented, so it's fine. Because
Okay.
it's not. It can't be.
Do you concede that you've changed your definition of all these words in this conversation?
Probably. This has been so all over the place, I don't know where we're at. So there's a very good chance.
You started off by saying, and you said it so many times in this conversation, that 18 means an adult and before 18 is child. Now you're saying it's physical maturity.
No, I'm still stead strong. 18, adult, under 18, child.
Is anybody
You can
else hearing this?
classify it like that.
You just changed your opinion in the span of 10 seconds.
I've never faltered
In the span
on that.
of
I just
10
said that
seconds,
if you want to
I
define child
just
as maturity
defined
and-
I
and
just
define-
defined these and you agreed. I said
Yeah, those definitions are
child
fine.
is not physically mature. Adult is physically mature. Pedophile is child lover. You agreed. Then I
Those
brought
are
up 18 and then you changed it. Now
That's not
18 is
mutually
adult.
exclusive. That's not mutually. Those definitions are fine, but that you still need to classify in society what is and is not an adult, where that maturity is on a number.
Okay.
You have to do that.
The number has nothing to do with physical maturity, the definition
but
that
it
you just
does.
agreed upon.
It 100% does in terms of this relationship between a child and a f***ing adult. It does.
I don't even know what you think a child is anymore. Is it somebody physically mature or somebody under 18?
In society. But if you want to define child as puberty, that's fine, because that is the textbook definition of a child.
Okay, and you agreed that's what the definition is.
Yes, that is a fine definition. But you can still fall under 18 and
Okay.
be a child.
Okay.
That is the point.
Fair.
You are under 18, you are a child, you fall into that.
I understand what you're saying, and now I can understand your difference between
Okay.
legal and morality, right? That there's a difference between legal and morals, right? Is Dr. Disrespect messaging, I don't know if he messaged a 17-year-old, it's fine. Let's use this hypothetical. He messages a 17-year-old. Is he a pedophile?
As we've gone in circles. I would say it's a bad thing, and if we're going to use
You're not answering the question. No.
It's
It's a simple question.
I would say you are going to a child.
You're not making
You're
sense.
going to a child.
You don't know what this person is. You just said it's somebody physically mature.
It's a minor. He said it's a minor.
You keep
so we know it's a minor.
You've changed the words. I've heard so many different words for you. It's a legal minor, but is he a pedophile?
Yes, it's talking to a child. Yeah. We're going to simplify it even further. Yes, he's talking to a child. Pedophile, sure.
Your morality
Yes.
is arbitrary. It depends on nothing that
So is
makes
your
it.
perspective.
It doesn't
Your
make physical
perspective-
sense because you just said it based on maturity, and now it has to do with age. Those are two separate things.
I never said
There's
based on
no
maturity.
consistency.
I said there always needs to be a line. You can define a child based on puberty and adult based on maturity. That's fine, but there needs to be a line where this line over it is adult, under it is child. That's
But
a
that's
crucial.
not
component.
even what you believe in
How is that not what I believe in?
because you just said it's maturity.
What do you mean?
You just said it's physical maturity. Why are you following something that you don't believe in?
What are you talking about? The definition of child and adult is fine, but there needs to be a line in society where over here you go into this category, under here you go into this category. It's crucial.
Okay.
Otherwise, we
Leave
have
the
what you had, where
stop-
15 and 16-year-olds are marrying adults. And that's a
Leave
problem.
the legal thing out of it. Dr. Disrespect, It's messaging a physically mature 17-year-old who's
I don't believe there's such a thing. I don't believe there's such a thing.
You just said there was.
No, it's under a child. Under 18, you fall into the child category. You had puberty probably, or maybe not, as you said, but you fell into the child category under 18. It's just, to me, it's that black and white. I don't think there's a huge argument. I don't know why that's so hard to understand, brother.
Last time, because we're going in circles.
I know.
An adult is someone who's physically mature, correct?
The definition of an adult, maturity, yep, and over 18.
Not the definition. We need to agree upon a definition.
Brother, the definition's fine. The definition doesn't bother me.
So
That's fine.
it's not about you. Do you agree the definition of a child is somebody not physically mature?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Yes.
That's fine.
A child is somebody not physically mature, correct? Hold that thought.
Okay, not physically mature.
Yes. Dr. Disrespect message a physically mature 17-year-old.
No such thing. You can't prove it. How's the 17-year-old physically mature? They're not. So in my eyes, 18.
Do you understand what a hypothetical? Do you
in.
understand what a hypothetical is?
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I thought you were.
It's a physically mature 17-year-old.
Okay.
Based off your definition, an adult.
Uh-huh.
An adult 17-year-old, correct?
Nope. No such thing as an adult 17-year-old. There's no such thing as an adult 17-year-old.
Somebody.
That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
You just said it exists.
I never said a 17-year-old could be an adult.
When does someone become an adult? When? Okay. Based off. I can't believe I'm hearing this right now. I genuinely can't. Okay.
It's super simple. 18 is when the maturity starts to kick in, and that's when you become the adult. That's what we've established. Anything under that, you're still a child. You could have gone through puberty.
Are you afraid of getting canceled or
adult.
something? Like this is it's like this doesn't make any sense.
No, it's what I believe. Like it's just that simple.
But it's literally not what you believe.
How is it not what I believe?
You just said an adult is somebody physically mature.
Right. And I don't think you can be physically mature under 18.
What?
I don't think you can be physically mature under 18.
Puberty has nothing to do with age.
What does that have to do with anything? I'm missing that.
If
one.
I'm a man, I go through puberty at 17. I physically become an adult, right? It has nothing to do with 18. Do you understand this? Now I'm an adult because I'm physically mature.
Are you 18?
All right, you really don't want to get canceled. This is
no, it's just the truth. You need that there.
This is incredible.
I think that's where the distinction goes. I think it's super simple.
All right. I hope everybody listening can see where the consistency, because I don't think I'm going to get through to you. It's you're looping, but I hope you're able to see. Maybe you are too, but I think that you're just afraid of like losing a platform or something, or getting angry, getting your audience angry with you. But do you see how arbitrary this is to define pedophile based off of a specific number, even though it doesn't physically even make sense?
No, I don't see why that's silly. I think that's entirely necessary.
Okay.
Because you need that number. Otherwise, you're going to have 14 and 15-year-olds marrying adults, like you said is okay.
Okay. Yeah. Just incredible. Where does your morality? I want to leave on this. I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I do want to touch on this before I go. Where does your morality come from?
We already went over this, right? Personal experience and everything I take in from the world and process up in here.
Okay. 10 years ago, did you believe that a child can go through transgender therapy? Can they cut their penis off?
10 years ago, I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't unaware of it. And then when I learned about it, I formed my own morality on it based on everything I saw, read, came to my own conclusions.
Okay. If I told you when you were a kid that it was okay legally and morally to cut your dick off, would you agree?
Like what do you mean? Would I do it, or would I say that that's okay?
Would you say that that's okay?
I'd have no idea on how to even process something like that. I'm a fucking child.
How old are you now?
29.
Okay. When you were 10 years ago, like, and you had heard about it, because this was still bubbling. There was, I think Caitlyn Jenner was first popping up. This was like the talk of the town. If I told you 10 years ago, try to remember that Trump is running for president, 2014. What's happened? Like, Obama's still in office, right? I tell you it's okay to cut kids' penises off. You saying that's cool?
So 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I'd say let me look into it, and probably if it's a decision they came to with professionals and their family, I'd say yeah.
You say that's gonna go?
I'd say you have the right to make that decision for yourself. Yeah.
Can you? I don't even know how to get through to like the people like you sometimes. Why? Because why is it okay? Why? Okay, I'm not trying to be up. Why do you think a kid can consent to that, but they can't consent to marriage? Why can a kid consent?
We're going in circles. I just said when it comes to a marriage, it's no longer just a personal decision. It's not. You take on a whole.
We've
new
also
person,
established
a whole
that
new
a
person's family.
transgender surgery is also not a personal decision.
It is. It is a decision you are making.
You're also saying "I do" to the marriage, which is a personal decision.
And then you are bringing in an entirely new family dynamic from this adult.
And why does that then make it wrong? Because other people are involved.
Because this is an adult. This is a predator who is coming into your life.
A predator?
Yeah, if you are marrying an adult as a child, that's a predator.
Okay. And it's not predatory for the doctor to lure a kid into an office and cut his penis off?
Oh, he's luring kids into the office now?
Yeah,
with,
there's
like, candy on a fishing
advertisements.
rod?
Chris Tyson from, maybe a kid saw your collab with Mr. Beast. He got inspired by Chris Tyson. He gets lured in because Chris Tyson...
Maybe a 24-year-old watched your streams like, oh, you know what? This 15-year-old's pretty mature. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to talk to them. Do you think that's cool?
No, that's not cool. You're supposed to talk to the father before you get married. If her father's not okay with it, then what happens?
That's the issue you had with that scenario?
Yeah, but when you approach marriage, you don't just go approach a girl and that's not what Islamically is allowed. You're supposed to go to the father and supposed to see where it goes from there. So that's never what I said.
24-year-old talks to the father of a 15-year-old and gets his permission. Now it's cool? Get
to the father and say, like, am I interested in marrying your physically mature, your adult daughter? Okay? Is she okay with it?
15-year-old,
ask the mother,
15-year-old daughter.
Get the consensus. Yes, and if he's okay with it, she's okay with it. I think that's fine. That's fine.
Like that, I just don't see how we'll ever see eye to eye on that. Like, to me, that is the most alarming shit.
Okay.
To even view someone of that age as physically mature is concerning. Or like the potential to be physically mature at 15 is very concerning.
Then you think
so, like,
by your morality, all of human history, everybody was a pedophile. In the 1800s in America, the age was 10. In the UK, 200 years ago, the age was 7.
Yeah, yep, 100%.
So everybody,
7 and 10-year-olds, yeah.
So everybody in human history was a pedophile up until 10 years ago.
10 years ago is pretty arbitrary.
What is it, 50 years ago,
yeah.
or whenever the feminist movement started?
When they're marrying 10-year-old and
for thousands of years, Moise.
Past this, though.
For thousands of years, everybody was a pedophile up until 50 years ago when the age of consent was divided.
Yes, and also people used to eat people more often, like cannibals. What, you're gonna go on like cannibals? Like, it's not like things were great back then. It's not like we had it all figured out back then. Yeah, there was a lot of bad shit.
But in successful societies, like the UK is a Christian country, was a Christian country in the 1800s. The United States was a Christian country in the 1800s, and all societies in Greece and the Roman Empire, successful societies that colonized, that thrived, that had lots of families, that invented things. These people, all those people were pedophiles.
Brother, yeah, if they're having sex with 7 and 10-year-olds, 100%, yes.
Okay, but not even if they were enacting upon it, if they believed in it, because it's the belief too. So everybody in human history was a pedophile up until 50 years ago.
If they subscribed to the belief that it was okay to do that, yeah,
which they did.
People evolved to recognize how bad that is.
They did. Yes.
Like if you look back on it retroactively, that is a horrible thing.
So everybody
look back on like.
Everybody in the UK
is a bad thing, and incest is a bad thing. Like, we would look back on these things and be like, "Hey, that was bad." Like, we know that's bad now.
Yeah, the next step for
people evolve.
I want to point this out and for you to remember this, because the next step for this thing where they cut off penises and take puberty blockers, the next step is normalizing incest. The next step is normalizing bestiality. People like Chris are already dressing up like wolves, already dressing up like dogs. They're walking around in public. They go to gay pride parades with these cat ears. They meow, they bark, they do these things. They believe they're dogs. A lot of these people, they accept them. They call them she-wolves, she-this, all this stuff. They identify as a wolf. Because if you can believe and identify that I'm a woman now, if I believe it, why can I not be a wolf? That's the next step, is bestiality. Then the next step is incest. These things should not be allowed. We should hold down something. There should be something that's consistent. The only thing that's consistent throughout history that makes sense is God. It has to go back to something consistent, something real, or else it's ever adapting and ever changing. Because 200 years ago, I really want you to remember this. In the 1800s in the UK, the judge that laid down the law in the UK said that the marriage for a woman is the age of 7. That's what they said, and everybody abided by that. Everybody believed in it. The society thrived. Everybody was okay. Nobody admonished that. That wasn't a problem. And then up until now, you're saying all these people were pedophiles. These are people that should be in jail. They're disgusting. They're horrible people. They should be admonished. If they were all in jail, there would be nothing going on. This is why you can't follow the ever-adapting morality. It can't change every 10 years, or one decade you can cut your dick off, and the next decade you can't. You can't adapt this all the time. There needs to be something consistent. It all has to go back to God. If it doesn't, then you're going to let the government control that. And the government right now, they're controlled by Zionists. I don't know if you've seen Netanyahu right now. Netanyahu just walked into Congress, and he told them all, 29/11s, we need more money. We need more money to continue bombing Palestine over and over again. Everybody got up and clapped. Everybody in the government, all the people that control the age of consent, that say that 16 is okay, that say that Romeo and Juliet, that 18 is okay. They also think that bombing innocent civilians in Gaza is okay. You cannot follow the government for a consistent set of morality. They are only followed by greed. All they believe in is money. All they believe in is personal gain. These are corrupt people who don't have their best interests, because all humans are flawed. I'm flawed. You're flawed. We've seen our flaws. We all know them. The only thing that's not flawed is God. God is the perfect being. The perfect supreme being that we have to follow. Nothing else can give us morality.
There was a lot in there. Again, we can follow God, but there needs to be an agreed upon consistency, which you don't provide.
I am.
Which was the whole subject.
The agreed
here.
upon consistency is physical maturity.
That's not a number, though. Like, you can't actually calculate physical maturity.
I don't think I'm going to get through to you that, but what you don't understand is that something that's consistent is
how do you then
physical maturity is consistent. That's something that's consistent.
What does it look like? What does it look like?
Post puberty. That's it.
What does that look like? What does that look like?
What does an adult look like? Looks like me. Looks like you.
Yeah.
We've went through puberty. I know you're an adult because you've went through puberty. I know I'm an adult because I went through puberty. I see a child. I know that's a child. That's a child who's not went through puberty yet. That's a kid. I'm very aware. It's very simple.
But you said like a 12-year-old could be physically mature. Like you said, a 15-year-old.
They're mostly not. They're mostly not. And even a child that's now become an adult at 13, 12, 13, something like that, would I think that they're mentally ready? I personally, most of the time, I would not think so. Would their parents think that child is mentally ready? Most of the time, I wouldn't think so. I don't think the parents would want that for a kid 12. I think they would want them to develop more. Because you should follow the morality of the parents. The parents are going to care for that kid way more than the government. Why are you going to let the government be in charge of your kids? The government's saying it's okay to cut the kids' dicks off. The parents just say, no, this is going to harm it. You're not going to do it. Clearly, it's going to be harmed. The parents are the one that are going to care about the kid way more than anybody in charge. All these Zionists that get in front of the Congress.
But that's neither here nor there. Again,
who should take care of a child? The parents or the government?
Absolutely. I am a big proponent of the government should not have a say in how people live their lives. Like, I don't think they should be intruding into people's personal freedoms to make the decisions.
But then you should let go of the age of consent.
No, because that one is more than the government. That is a societal agreed upon standard.
It's not societal agreed upon. We've established that already.
For the majority of sensible people, it is.
For sensible people, well, not in any states, not the majority of the United States, not the majority of Europe, not the majority of the world. You're making that up. The sensible people that you're talking about that are afraid to talk about precisely.
Are you going to go fuck a 16-year-old?
You said this again, but
no,
you're not. You're not seeing.
The question is, the answer is no.
You're not seeing it clearly.
You know that because it's not good to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you would for an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old. Like you've made that clear. Like you also recognize that it's more than a government thing. You also abide by it.
Okay.
Because it is an agreed upon
if you
standard.
don't, but what you're not seeing is that if you don't think that the government should intrude, that the parents should be the ones leading the child, that we should have like God-fearing people. It sounds like you agree with that. If we should have married couples, if we want to have more children to procreate and develop a better society and have healthy children who are not harmed, then the government should not be involved. They should not say that these two people cannot get married because of the age of 18. Because that's
Then
what
we're
they're
going to
doing
have
right now.
situations like we did hundreds of years ago with 7 and 10-year-olds getting married. And do you think that's a problem?
That back then, that wasn't even the major problem. There were more,
Like,
like
do you think it's a problem
there were
now?
much more during that time. It was not a problem.
Do you think it's a problem now, if we go back to that?
Now it's a problem. You know how much longer it takes for people to go through puberty and physically mature now because of what the fluoride they put in the water, because of the media that we consume, because of the TikTok brain people. People are maturing a lot later than they used to. Back then, people used to die at 33. People used to die in their early 30s in biblical times and in the times of the Quran. Life was over quickly. Now it's delayed. People live longer. We have more medicine. We have longer things. People live longer and they mature much later because they're putting goy slop all the time. People are sitting inside chronically. People, they don't have the same maturity level. So at that time, it was normal. Who am I to say that everybody then were terrible people? That makes no sense. They were living fine. They continued society. They colonized. They created things. They invented things. They were thriving at that time. For me to say like all these people are terrible, cancel the past.
You don't have
Cancel
to say
the
they're
Roman
terrible people.
Empire.
You can say that it was a terrible thing. You can say it's a bad thing, which you just did. It is a bad thing. We recognize that it's a
Based
bad
off
thing.
of today's standards created by the government, yes. Based
Well,
off
no,
of mine,
it's based on
no.
what we know and how much we know now. It is a bad thing for a child to be with an adult.
I agree.
Right. Again, you get it.
You know what's funny? This all brings me back to our cuties debate from last year.
Is it still your favorite movie?
No, it was never my favorite movie. That was clickbait. But the reason that we debated about it is because you didn't finish the movie, right? The girls started off in your world, in the world where people can cut their penises off, where girls are on TikTok at a young age, where they're doing disgusting things, where liberalism flourishes. At the end of the movie, the girls return to Islam. They find God. That same girl who's doing degenerate acts, who probably believed in transgenderism, this disgusting thing, she put on a hijab, she put her head to the floor and she prayed. And then we saw actual resolution. We saw the only way that she was going to find peace and prosperity, the only way she was going to be in a world that makes sense is under a God-fearing world. And then she changed. That's why I like the movie.
You never understood the problem. It was never the message of the movie.
No, I
It was that they
I understand your
sexually
problem.
exploited literal, actual children.
I
That was
understand
the
your problem. I understand the problem. I agree with, and I agreed with you then. And I agree with you now. But that's what I see is the only solution to this degeneracy in the West. Because everybody that's going to watch the debate, they're going to agree with the part that you thinking a child could cut his dick off is absolutely disgusting. You're going to see the response to that, and then you might change your opinion on it as well. You can't have this ever developing morality because then you get this thing.
I think you're going to see the same thing when you made an argument that in a extenuating circumstance, a 12-year-old can be physically mature and marry an adult. Like, I think you're going to see a response to that that's not the one you're expecting, because that's not an okay thing. There's never going to be a physically mature 12-year-old, a physically
But there
mature
were for all of human history, there were. And not even not even that long ago.
They weren't.
I read to you UK law. The UK juror, William Blackwell, said a woman can get married at the age of 7, sign it into law, and that
We can't be
happened.
using these old laws because there was also old laws where you
Really?
could beat the shit out of your wife and face no repercussion because she's your property.
What law
Do you
was
agree
that?
with that?
What law was that?
I'm giving an example. Like you could do that. Your wife was your property.
Exactly.
Slavery had
We're
laws.
agreeing
Do
that
you agree with that? I don't
can
think so.
laws can be wrong. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Those
laws
were
can be wrong. 100%. That's why you need to follow God's law. That's the only consistent law. And that's what I follow, and that's what the people that follow this, that's what most people follow. That's what people should, not most people in the West anymore. That's what most sensible people that believe in two genders, that you can't cut your, this is what people believe. They follow God's law. And they would agree. It should not be the age of consent. It should be the age of marriage. People should not be having frivolous sex. They should not be sleeping around doing degenerate things. They should not be messaging boys when they're married. They shouldn't do any of this stuff. They should get married, have kids, and make a better society.
Okay, just to put a bow on the whole thing, age of marriage. How do you determine that? So someone in your position, age of marriage is now the law. Who does he start talking to? The parents of what age? When is it physically mature?
Physically mature, again, it depends on the person.
That's just you see why that's such an. I don't know why I don't see why that's such an issue. Like Predators that Chris Hansen sat down with said the same thing.
Right,
this 13-year-old is physically mature.
But you see,
Thus, it's not a
this
problem.
issue in my worldview, this is eradicated because pedophiles, predators, they only exist in a society that allows the age of consent, that encourages people to have sex out of wedlock. In a society, in a world where you're only supposed to pursue people in search of marriage, that's eradicated. Because these people, these predators, you're saying
it's
that
not.
yes, it is.
What?
A predatory
No.
thing is you're using a girl and you're throwing her away. You're taking advantage of her. You're
No, a
manipulating her.
predatory
You're selling
thing
her
is
a
also
dream.
marrying a child. It's the same thing. That's still predatory.
But it's not predatory. It's not predatory if the parents agree to it, they agree to it, and they say, yes, it's okay. Now you're going to take care. You're going to have a happy marriage. That's actually not predatory at all. Pedophiles and predators only exist when you encourage sex out of wedlock. It's not a problem when you encourage marriage.
Wow, how is it not a problem for someone that's in their 20s to be marrying a 14-year-old if everyone consents? How is that not a
What
problem?
parent is going
in
to
that scenario?
what parent is going to let their child be handed off to a
Plenty.
predator?
There's plenty of bad parents. You think every parent's great?
Of course
Especially
not.
if that adult comes from like a wealthy background or has a good job. That happens a lot.
Of course, there's outliers, but who's going to care more? And you agreed to this earlier. Who's going to care more about that child, the parents or the government?
The parents, for
100%.
sure. I agree with
so
that.
I'm gonna trust the parents over the government any day. If the parents agree that this is, if the parents agree that this adult is ready, if they say that this marriage is going to be good, and I agree upon this, and I think it's healthy, I think they're ready, 100%. I will take their consent over the government's consent any day.
I don't think I'll ever be able to agree with that if there's no line in the sand. For
Right,
what
because you
is
think that
in
kids can cut their dicks off.
What? Sorry.
Right, because you think kids can cut their dicks off. Like, we have fundamentally different worldview. And I'm telling, do you believe in God, Moise?
Yeah, I actually grew up very religious. I was baptized twice. I come from a very religious background. I'm not so much anymore, but I do come from a background in it.
Why not anymore? If you're seeing disgusting things, I mean, if you're not a Catholic anymore, then why do you think a man can become a woman? That's nothing biblical.
I was a Baptist, not a Catholic, but it's because I believe that a lot of the old worldview is outdated and ever changing. And I believe that all spirituality preaches love and tolerance. One of your big things is love speech, but most of what you spew is hatred towards other people.
I don't spew any hatred.
That's not true. Like even half of your spiels here are targeted to people that you have fundamental disagreements with. It's not like you're coming at them.
Disagreement is not hate.
No, but it's coming from a place of hate. You're not just disagreeing. You're calling them like monsters, basically. Like you
People
attack
that encourage children to take to cut their penises off and take hormone blockers, those are bad people. Those are bad people. Do I hate them? No. I spread love. I want them to come to God. I want them to find something that makes sense. I do not want them to put out negativity into the world. I don't hate anybody.
That's not how it comes across them. Then perhaps a reformatting of your love speech. But for me, I never have a problem with how people want to live their lives. Like you have entire autonomy over your body. That doesn't bother me. And my religious background, I was always taught about how it's always better to accept as opposed to reject. Like there's never any reason to hold on to some hatred for people, especially when that's where
liberals get confused. It's not hatred, like not accepting things that are bad. That's not hatred. That's drawing a line. Just like how you don't accept saying below 18. That's not acceptance. You, by your logic, you're saying that's hatred. People. That's hateful, right? Like if you believe,
that's a very fair point. That is a super fair point.
If you believe in something consistent, then drawing a line and saying this is not allowed, like incest or bestiality, these things which you agree are wrong. It's like I don't hate people who are committing incest. I don't hate people who believe they're dogs. I feel bad for them. I'm trying to, and I don't want them to encourage it, and I want to stop that. It sounds like, I guess it sounds angry because I talk about these things, but I would look into this person. I look into that, and I see someone lost. Right? I see somebody confused. I see somebody that's brainwashed by the Zionist propaganda.
I can say that about you as well, though. I see someone that's lost about this age of consent, like what is and is not okay to marry. Like it's very easy to turn around and say the same about you, because in my eyes, you do seem lost. You've gone through this radical shift in your perspectives in a very short period of time, and to me, it seems like it's because of who you've surrounded yourself with and what you've taken in. Like it doesn't seem
just like you. The same reason you believe.
I'm not saying that it's like unnatural or weird or anything. That's not the point I was getting at. I'm just saying how easy it is to easily turn that around on you as well. When you're arguing for things like there can be a physically mature 14-year-old or whatever that can marry an adult, like those kind of things to me seem like someone who's lost. I don't think you're someone that's going to go out there and someone that's 16, 15 years old.
No,
I don't think you would do that.
I've established a million times the age of marriage.
Yeah. But you would defend someone who did.
No, it wouldn't. That's wrong.
Yeah, if it was the right circumstances, if it was a physically mature 15-year-old, or if you believe it was a
If
physically
their parents
mature
said it's
15-year-old,
okay, if their parents said it's
then
okay,
that's the point I'm making.
I'm not going to get in between.
I think that's very lost. I think that's super lost.
You think it's lost because you can't define simple terms. I want to go back so you remember this. What is a child?
The textbook definition, someone who hasn't gone through puberty.
Right. You have your own definition of this word, and that's
Yeah.
where
Society does. Society does. Under 18. That's minor.
That's not the definition of the word. That's the legal defined thing of adult. That's it's not even. I don't even know where they legally define that as an adult. They just say that doesn't legally. It doesn't even say you're an adult. They just say you can vote at that age, and they say you can. You're saying that's the age of consent, even though it's 16 most places. You can vote at 18, but other than that, there's no law that says you're an adult at 18. You've made that up.
It's what everyone in most places has agreed upon.
And I've said we've established a million times throughout the United States. It's not true. Throughout Europe, that's not true.
Again, those are
You're saying, but
circumstances
what
that
you're
usually
saying
exist for the Romeo and Juliet laws.
But what you're saying
societally, it is 18.
No, but what you're saying is objectively wrong. In most places, that's not true. Like, if you look at the map, that is not
like
true.
Japan having the 13-year-old age of consent till they change it. There's plenty of places that don't. I get that. But if someone goes to Japan and fucks a 13-year-old, you're not going to be happy with them, are you?
No, because that's
yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to do that.
But it's legal there. But it's legal there. It's legal there.
You're missing the point. I don't think that you follow the moral ideas of laws. I've established that as well. You're saying most people agree that it's 18. That is factually wrong.
Most people agree. You are agreeing. You would not be happy if someone went and married a 13-year-old or fucked a 13-year-old in Japan, even if it's legal. You wouldn't be happy. But I don't think you would have any issue if that person was 18. Mm-hmm. There is just something that people have accepted, and that's 18.
You're not realizing, like, you have to concede to this point. You're saying most people agree it's 18 throughout human history.
I get that.
Listen. Throughout human history and throughout the world that we are currently in, that is factually wrong.
Right, and I do understand that.
Okay, so
but
you cannot. So why do you believe that it's 18? Because you're saying it's most people, and I just told you that's wrong. So why is it 18?
Because it is what we have all, for the most part, agreed upon.
No, well, stop saying something that's wrong. That's not true. That's not true.
It is. Again,
if you can show me some, if you
came out and said you're an 18-year-old, your community wouldn't care. There is a difference. There is a
internet cancel culture
difference.
Is not how you judge right from wrong. Okay, if you have to show me a statistic where it says 18, most people agree with, because across the world throughout human history, that's not true. The reason you believe that is because in California, you know that in Hollywood, that's where California, one of the rare places it's 18. Do you know that, right? So in movies, they say it's 18. The age of consent is 18. That gets pushed everywhere, right? Hollywood dominates the world. Do you know who controls Hollywood?
Oh, here we go. I already knew where this was going, but you're not.
No, it's a simple question. But this is why you believe that it's most people. Who controls Hollywood?
No, that's not why. It's because people have accepted that.
People?
Everyone
What people?
In sensible society, for the most part, have accepted that this is the line. This is the number.
Where?
And there needs to be one.
Where is that? Where are these people?
In your chat right now.
My chat is the majority. My chat's the majority of the world.
I'm just giving an example. You can see it.
Okay.
You can see it
on the internet.
There is statutory
on the internet
associated, and you go to jail
Fair.
for having sex with under 18 as an like an adult.
On the internet.
No, and in society.
Where in society?
Statutory rape.
Where in society?
Literally everywhere. Statutory rape. An adult having sex with a child.
Nope. Not true. 16 most places. The reason that people push this narrative.
You'll still go to jail if you have sex with a 16-year-old as an adult, even in places where the age of consent
as an adult,
is 16.
you said the age of 18. 18 is an adult. 19 has sex with a 16-year-old. That's fine. There, your definition just changed right there. Now an adult is past 25. You just change it. Okay. So most places that's not true. Okay. 18 is not the agreed upon age anywhere. The reason is because of Hollywood. Hollywood movies say that.
Holy shit.
Do you know who controls Hollywood? Moist Critical?
Oh my God! It has nothing to do with Hollywood, brother.
It is. That's the reason Western Americans, liberalized Americans, believe that is because of Hollywood. Because if you said that across the world in Europe, they'd be like 18. That's not true. I'm in Europe right now. They don't think that across from like liberal Westerners like you. You're the only people that push that, and you got to get out of your internet bubble because that's not true.
It's just not true. It's not true. You see
I
this
just
happen in
told you.
other parts of the world too, like in Europe. If you have an adult that is having sex with a 16-year-old, it is frowned upon as well. It is still a problem. It is still an issue. Like it is still everywhere. Like it doesn't matter really where. Like there are parts in the world where I'm sure it's not, but that's not parts where people are celebrating.
Again, what you're saying is wrong because you change your definition of adult again. You said adult was somebody physically mature, now it's not. Right? And if if it follows the age of consent in Europe it's 16, then why would it be wrong? Based off your thing. Okay.
It is still.
I think that people, it's almost impossible to get through what you're saying in looping. Can you tell me, do you know who controls Hollywood, who pushed this narrative?
I know where you're going with it. You're going to say it's all controlled by the Zionists, right?
Do you think that's wrong?
I do think it's wrong, yeah.
Why is that wrong?
Because I don't think there's a secret Zionist agenda that controls the entire world.
It's actually not secret at all. They boast about it.
And you're the one that can see between the lines. You're onto them?
No, it's something that they openly talk about. You know, AIPAC, the biggest lobby in America, 98% of their endorsed politicians win elections. They put that on their website. They talk about it all the time. Zionists, they openly talk about how they control. It's not a secret. Why do you think that they do that? Okay, so follow my line of questioning. Why do you think the Zionists that boast about it, that control Hollywood as well, if you look at the list of these people, the directors, the producers, all these people, it always goes back to the same place. That's why Harvey Weinstein got accepted for having sexual blackmail things. That's why the Epstein Island thing, they had connections to all these Hollywood directors and all these people. They blackmail these people sexually to push a certain... So why is that?
It's all just general corruption. Corruption exists in all of its forms, man.
True.
There's not some kind
True,
of
but it's predominant. But it's predominantly
it's just
Zionist.
corruption. It's literally corruption, which is prevalent everywhere. And you should know, like corruption.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why? Okay, so Zionists do predominantly control Hollywood. That's just a fact. That's just something, again, that there's no point in arguing. That's something that's true. You could look at all the Hollywood directors. Why do you think that they would want to push that in America? They're all the way, like the Zionists started in Israel. Why would Israel care about America's age of consent?
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, there's no reason why. Like, why specifically? Because this narrative, it works so well that you believe in it, and you're saying that most people believe in it, even though that's not true. So why would they push this so hard that Americans believe something that's not true?
Enlighten me. Why?
Because they want to push sexual deviancy on people to control us. Because they use America.
Stop right there. And it's not sexually deviant for a child to have sex or marry an adult.
Do you think it's sexually deviant?
They're married and they're having sex.
Fair. Do you think it's sexually deviant for people to have sex out of wedlock?
No. Again, that's a completely... Nope.
You don't think that?
No.
Okay, but you said you're Catholic earlier.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said Baptist.
Based off the Catholic belief and most religious beliefs, sex out of marriage, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. It's not encouraged.
No, it is a sin.
It is a sin.
It is a sin.
And not even if it's just sin. Let me just ask you, do you think that people should have sex out of a long-term relationship like marriage? Should people have frivolous sex?
If they want to, they can. Yeah, I think they should have the ability to do that if they want to. I don't think that should be like a government coming in saying you can't do that.
No, not the government. A moral reason. Do you think morally, the people that watch you, for example, do you think that they should be having a lot of sex with a lot of random people?
That's entirely up to them. I'm not in the position to say what they should or should not do.
What would you advise them?
And I wouldn't push that morality onto them.
Well, you're pushing the morality of 18 on them.
Yeah, that's significantly different.
No, it's not.
It really is.
No, it's not. You're saying that this is the morally okay age to have sex. Okay, so what about these people once they get to that age? Would you encourage them now that they're 18 and they can fuck around? Would you encourage them to go fuck around?
I wouldn't encourage them. They can do it if they want. I'm not going to say go out there and fuck. I don't care.
You don't care?
That's up to them. That's up to them. If they are of the legal age and they want to go do that, I'm not their fucking dad.
What do you think makes for a better society? How about then? Because you don't need to tell them what to do. What society do you think is healthier? One that people are having a lot of sex with random people and cutting their penises off, or a society where they're getting married and staying loyal?
That's a very generous framing, because your society of marriage is one that has children.
Don't go back. Okay. Do you think it's better to live in a society where people are having a lot of frivolous sex or abstaining and getting married?
Now, are we talking like marriage of the right age, over 18?
Over your idea of right age, sure, yes. What do you think is better?
Okay, then yeah. In that society, if people are settling down and getting married, having long-term relationships, meaningful relationships, and they're all of the correct age, they're adults, then yeah, that's definitely better.
That's
I think
exactly,
most people would probably agree with that.
and that's exactly why the Zionists who control the media, that's why they push this so much. Do you know who owns Pornhub, for example?
MindGeek.
MindGeek. You know who controls MindGeek?
Couldn't tell you.
A rabbi.
Is that right? I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay, do you know who
I
controls?
couldn't
Do you know
tell
who controls the music industry? The people like, you know, Ice Spice. She says, "Pop a perk, twerk, pop a perk, twerk." You know who controls the music industry?
Who?
All Zionists. And they use black culture to promote degeneracy, and that's how you get these wiggers that run around saying nigga all the time and doing this stuff. That's how you get this culture, because they listen to rap music so much they get brainwashed, they start shooting, popping perks, they want to be cool. The idea of cool now for white people is acting like a thug black person that they hear in the music. The reason that they do this is to keep us controlled, to keep us weak. Because when you're using your life force all the time, would you agree that watching porn, jerking off, would you agree that it lowers your energy?
Well, that's a very real thing, yeah. Porn
Yeah.
addiction, all that's a bad thing for sure. But you're taking things, like you're taking like actual things, like porn addiction, and you're tying it into a completely conspiratorial thing that doesn't do anything.
It's not
besides
conspiratorial. What I
survive.
just said was true. A rabbi owns Pornhub.
But that's probably true. Like I imagine you're right. I'm sure you've done your research on it. But that's also so inconsequential because I don't think it ties into this bigger narrative of the Zionists trying to keep SNEAKOs weak or anything like that. That is corruption. It's called corruption. Like and that
My
is
point is
prevalent in every industry, regardless.
the reason that you hold on to this belief so dearly that 18 is the age of consent is because they want us to believe this so much. They want us to have this idea of age of consent, age of consent, age of consent, and now we don't even believe in marriage anymore. Now we believe in this idea of frivolous sex. Now we believe that, oh, okay, I'm 18, I can consent now, I can have sex. When that shouldn't even be a term. The term should be age of marriage.
Doesn't do that.
Yes, it does. Age of consent,
About,
that word implies sex out of wedlock.
Okay, but first, there's a couple things here. First of all, the age of consent, if it wasn't there, it's not going to lead to more marriages magically. There's a lot of societal things, such as job, economy, housing market. You know those things. Getting rid of the age of consent doesn't magically fix that.
No,
and if you don't,
it doesn't magically fix that. But I'm telling you, that's why you hold on to that so dearly. Because they want us to believe age of consent.
Well, no, because
even
it's a
a girl who's
simple
18,
thing.
she's not even really ready to make that decision. Girls who are 18 and vote, they all vote for Joe Biden because they believe Trump's racist, and then they all regret it 4 years later because they get brainwashed and manipulated quickly. And even an 18-year-old woman, she's not even capable, in my opinion, and the Islamic, of being able to consent like that, jump into that, because it should be the father. The father is going to be smarter at guiding her to the right man. Women are emotional thinkers. They're going to see the bad boy with the motorcycle jacket, the guy beating up people, the drug dealer, the big tough alpha guy who's just going to dump them. They're attracted to them. If we follow the age of consent, they're going to get sent to the boy who's fucking all the girls and never wants to marry them. We should not even have these people.
Have no authority of their own. You're making it sound like, okay, no age of consent, now it's up to the dad, and the 14-year-old wants that bad boy on the motorcycle, and maybe the dad thinks that guy's f***ing awesome, so he says yes. That still happens in your society.
That dad is not going to think that, because the dad who...
You don't know that. You do not know that. But what you can know is that under no circumstances...
Well, that's not, you know why that's not going to happen? Because Islamically, you're not supposed to allow harm on another person. So a father would not allow his daughter to get harmed. You're going to go and evaluate the person.
Everyone's perfect. You agree.
Of course not everybody's perfect, and neither is the law. But this is a better metric of society based off the government that changes and allows things all the time.
There's no consistency to it, which you think is, you agree, is a very important thing. Because it's always going to be variable. Like, that 14-year-old... in that society might want to be with the bad boy biker. He could come from money. The parents say yes. His parents say yes. That's okay in your world. In the current one with the age of consent, that's impossible. So now maybe that 14-year-old grows up, she's 20, she sees that same biker, she's like, oh, that guy's a fucking loser. That guy's just a douchebag. That could happen. All of these things.
No father, like in the majority, I know I'm generalizing this. No father is going to see this guy. Like if he's a drug dealer, he's a bad person, is going to evaluate that and allow his daughter to get married. That's just
don't know that.
Of course, there's extreme outliers, but like that's even silly to think about. No actual father. Do you even know a father who would allow his daughter to get married to somebody like this? He would evaluate them in a God-fearing society where we allow marriage, allow his daughter to be harmed to go away to a marriage.
I don't know a father that would be okay with their child being with an adult. First off, there's no one I know that would be okay with that. Because even just right there, it should be a full stop. Not even analyzing.
You keep saying child.
Analyzing their child.
Okay, child is what?
Oh my God.
Child is what?
Under 18.
Okay, so you're not following the definition. It's okay. I can't have this conversation if you don't follow definitions of words.
Again, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature.
Even though they literally can. Even though puberty actually defines that, it's fine.
I don't believe so.
So
I
okay,
don't
so
believe a
you have these.
14-year-old will
So
ever be-
okay, fine. Then you don't think your beliefs come from the Zionists that control the media, the government, and control America. Where do you get your beliefs from?
We're just going in circles, man. We've gone over this so much.
Where?
Again, from my own experiences, from everything I see, and formulating my own thoughts on it. I was 14 once. I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature enough to get married?
If you were physically mature, if you were mature, yes, I would. Okay.
Really? When I was 14.
Yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would.
No. We're talking adults. You keep going back to that.
That is adult.
I met.
I told you my definition.
I
told you the definition. The definition.
Okay.
If you went through puberty, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes, if you're an adult and you had a mustache, you're ready to get married, fine. Okay.
Okay.
You get your beliefs.
14-year-old adult.
We're going in
marries a
circles.
14-year-old adult. What is the benefit to society?
A
How
14.
does that help your society?
What?
2 14-year-olds just got married in your society. How is that helpful?
They stay away from the Zionist degeneracy. They stop watching porn. They stop having sex out of wedlock. They stop, going to parties they shouldn't go to. They're maybe not drinking. They're in a healthy relationship. They're staying away from all this stuff. They're building with each other. They're having a marriage. They're praying together. They're focusing on building a family together in the future. This is much better for society. So I want to ask you. You said you get your morals from your personal experiences and the people around you.
Everybody does. That's how everyone formulates.
So
their own
your
perspective
morality
and their
is
own
based
morals.
off the people around you?
You take in all of the information around you. It's everyone does. You do. You've taken in so many beliefs of people you've talked to. It changes your perspective on things. That's how it works.
Changing your perspective is different than morality. Morality is right from wrong and good from bad. Do you change what you believe is good and bad based off the people you're around?
I guess it depends on the situation, because there are going to be things that are bad in some situations that are not bad in others, like self-defense. If there's someone, like I would say killing someone is abhorrent, one of the worst things you can do. But there's a situation where it makes sense. You maybe saved yourself, saved somebody else. So yeah, morality changes based on what's going on around you and what you've taken in.
So, well, I mean, this is where it's consistent, because self-defense, that doesn't count as murder. Like, yes, it is killing somebody, but it's not the act of murder.
But
right?
killing, to me, is morally bad. But there are times where it's not, like in self-defense.
Of course, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
So where else in a scenario where good, because that's not based off of your personal experiences. That's just something that makes sense, and that's also
It's still based off the things around me, which you seem to have an issue with.
It's not based off of what's around you. That's been consistent
does.
throughout history, and even in the Quran it says that it's like you're allowed to defend yourself. Like you're supposed to defend yourself. That's not cold-blooded murder. Is there any situation where cold-blooded
That's not what
murder?
you asked.
I said you change what's good and bad. I understand that I've changed my perspective on things, but good and bad. Is your good and bad able to change?
Some things will never change about what I view as good and bad. But there are, again, some that will, like in the case of self-defense. Because I would say
Okay,
killing is always bad until it's not, like in self-defense. But
Some-
there are things that would never change. For example, I'll give you one that will never change. Cold-blooded murder. You kill someone in cold blood, completely innocent person, that's never going to change, no matter what happens.
Because it harms someone. You shouldn't harm other people.
Yeah, someone has just died here, a completely innocent person is now dead.
So why can a child physically harm
I knew
himself?
that was coming.
So why could a child cut his penis off and harm himself?
Again, that's entirely the decision, and this falls right in line with my beliefs, that people can make their own choices for their own bodies.
If I decide to say, man, it's clips not mags, and I decide to shoot you, that's a personal decision. Doesn't change the fact that it's wrong.
You've taken it out on me. You've killed me.
And from a personal decision.
That's looking at it from a very naive
But
angle.
you said-
you didn't make a decision for yourself. You made a decision to kill me.
It's still for myself to feel better.
I mean, I guess you can make
That's
that
still a personal
argument.
decision. So why is it okay for a kid to cut his dick off?
He's making, he and his family, or he and she and that family, is making that decision for that child's life. If that's the path they want to go down, it's like choosing a sport. You can do what you want to do. You can
do what you want to do?
Yeah, that is not harming anybody.
It literally harms their body. Their body changes physically. They have the highest suicide rate out of any demographic.
That is their decision to make. It is their choice. No one is
It's their choice. So why can I not make the choice to shoot you and say it's clips on?
You are harming someone that's not you.
Right. You're harming yourself by cutting off your penis. Same reason that suicide should not be allowed, because you're harming yourself. Why can I not kill myself, but I can cut my penis off as a child?
I mean, you can do that.
Right, but it's morally wrong to kill myself, correct?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, it's morally wrong to kill myself. Why is it not morally wrong for a 9-year-old, if you're a doctor, to cut that 9-year-old dick off?
Well, you've just changed two different things now.
No.
So are we talking from the doctor or the child?
Say I'm the doctor. I can't kill myself. Is it morally okay for me to cut off a 9-year-old's dick?
If everyone around that 9-year-old is giving you the green light that this is what they want, this is their decision, there is no one being harmed aside from the person who is making that decision, and they are wanting to do that for their life and their happiness.
Okay.
Then that is fine.
Can I kill the 9-year-old?
What?
If everybody around, the parents decide, if everyone says like, yeah, kill this 9-year-old, can I do it? Healthy 9-year-old, no problems, not depressed, nothing. Everyone around, they get consent from the parents. Can I kill the 9-year-old?
I think it should be pretty obvious why the answer would be no there.
Why?
There's a huge difference.
Why?
Dead.
Dead? Okay. Why? Same thing.
Dead.
Okay, I cut the 9-year-old off. I'm setting it up for death in a sense. They have the highest suicide rate out of any demographic of any people ever. They're depressed. Their body's warped. They're physically deformed. You are doing something permanent to them that is irreversible. That is harm. Harm is almost
so do gamblers. So does okay.
You know what's forbidden in Islam?
Gambling. Yeah, I get it.
You know what's of course I have. I've drank before too, and I've had sex out of wedlock.
Exactly.
Does that make me perfect? No. Islam is perfect, but we are not perfect. This is why we need rules. Alcohol, same thing. It harms you. That's why we ban it. Sex out of wedlock, it harms you. That's why we ban it. Cutting your dick off harms you. That's why we ban it.
And why are you not as outspoken about things like gambling? Like every case.
Oh, yes, I am. Oh my, yes, I absolutely am.
On Aiden Ross.
I absolutely do. I call them out all the time. Every single chance
I must have missed that.
I have called them, and you want me to do it right now? Encouraging people to gamble makes your audience worse. You're essentially scamming them. You are funneling children to become addicted to something, to slot machines. You are getting rich off of your audience becoming poor. I talk about this all the time, and I pride myself in the fact that I rejected a $20 million gambling deal. I got a call, and they said, do you want to gamble for a year? And I said, no, I can't do this because my religion says this is wrong. You need to have something that's consistent. The same reason my religion says you cannot become a woman, you cannot cut a kid's penis off, I'm going to say no to that. You need to be consistent with your idea of harm, because you know this is factually true. Trans people have the highest suicide rate. They're some of the most depressed people. They're constantly in therapy. After 7 years, the dopamine wears off and they get depressed again. They want to change. The amount of people that want to detransition is huge. These people are set up for failure. It's essentially death. It's harming them. So why is it okay for a doctor to set somebody up like that? Why is it okay for a doctor to harm a child?
It is, again, I didn't know you did that. I think that's a very admirable position to take on gambling. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You're against gambling?
I've never heard you do that before. Huh?
I've yapped about this. Like my community makes fun of me for talking about it too much. It was like a meme about how much I talk about it. That's why.
No, I had no idea.
Okay. You don't do it either?
What?
You don't promote gambling or anything?
No, man.
Do you drink?
I just started drinking again occasionally.
Occasionally, right? But you wouldn't encourage it.
No, I don't want people to go out and do bad things. I'm not perfect though, so I do drink. And I play poker with friends occasionally. But
yeah, with small amounts of money, you're not a gambling addict.
No. But the big thing that that's
really good, bro. This is why I took this call, because like I see, and this is why I don't hate, like some people think I hate you and I don't. Like I see like there's a good person, bro. But the trans stuff, like This is actually harming people, and this is why I was right so long ago. What's even worse than Chris like messaging 13-year-old boys and being addicted to porn and all this stuff is encouraging people to do this, to follow suit. It's wrong. It's only been right for 10 years. We can't change human history and say that this new idea of kids taking HRT and permanent damage to their body is okay. We can't change morality like that fast. That damages society. Even Mr. Beast, like a guy that you like a lot, and I think even then I don't hate him. I think he's a good person. But the amount of people that are becoming trans because they see their favorite creator, Chris, they see their favorite YouTuber, his best friend, Chris, is becoming trans too. I'm going to do it. Snip. The amount of ripple effect that has on the world, it almost supersedes the positive things he's doing when he's digging up wells. And I don't want him to do this. And this is why I knew I was right when I've been calling this out nonstop for a year. What Chris is doing is objectively bad for society, and everybody needs to be condemning it. There's no excuse for this disgusting trans stuff. A man cannot become a woman. It's a very simple reality that you and I know.
No, I just disagree with that, though. I really do. I 100% disagree with that.
Why?
I've already told you why. I truly believe that people can make their own decisions. I wouldn't encourage gambling and drinking, but if someone gambles and drinks, I don't hate them for it, and I don't think they're worse for society.
It's not about hate. Same way it's not about hate, but it's morally wrong.
Okay, I won't use the word hate. I don't view them.
It's not about hate. It's morally wrong. The same reason it's morally wrong to kill yourself or kill somebody. It's morally wrong to tell someone you could become a woman, because that's wrong. It has no factual basis.
Like, I can say the same thing about you, and I do say this. I think it is morally wrong to be saying that in some circumstances, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds can get married to adults.
But you don't even believe that? You don't even believe that because you said 15 times.
Yes, I do.
You don't even believe that because you said a child is somebody not physically mature, an adult is somebody mature.
The textbook definition of a child is through puberty. However, anything under 18, as I've said a million times, is a child.
We've also established 18. Why that's silly. We've also established why silly that is.
Physically mature 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old.
But 17, they can be physically mature?
I'm giving examples. No, 17 as well, no.
17, they can't be physically mature? Okay.
Nope,
What you're saying, what you believe is literally incorrect and factually wrong, because they can. They can, and that's just true. There's no point in going in circles. Maybe we can go from here, man. I appreciated this, and I don't dislike you. I want to say that I do think that you look at the trending page and you follow an opinion, and then that's when you make your video. I think you followed the whatever popular because you don't want to get canceled. The stuff you believe in is already kind of the consensus of the entire world. Because I think you're afraid of cancel culture, and I think that's why you took long to talk about Cr1tiKal, because like the biggest YouTuber on the platform is literally promoting some of the most demonic ideology possible.
Provably wrong. I actually was faster to that than Dr. Disrespect. But the point is, I'm just a normal guy, and I give my opinions on things. I don't follow anything. In my eyes, you follow a crowd. You follow a contrarian
Islam
belief system.
It's not contrarian.
The same way.
It's not contrarian. Right now I'm in Turkey.
I think you just follow the contrarian.
It's not contrarian. Right now I'm in Turkey and I'm happier than I've been in a long time. Can't you see like how much happier I get? I don't know. My community can. When I'm in Florida, when I'm around Shaitan, when I'm around this like cut your dick off world, I get angry. When I'm here, when I'm around my people, I was in the Muzehid today. It was Juma prayer. I went to Hagia Sophia. When I'm around Muslims, I'm not a contrarian. I agree with them. I put my head to the floor at the same time with them. I recite Surah Fatiha at the same time as them. I'm one of a lot of people who believe in the same thing. Islam is the fastest growing religion. It's one of the biggest religions in the world. I'm not a contrarian to them at all. I admit and I submit to Allah, and I say that this is the only religion that's true. I believe in this completely, and whatever God says, I will follow. That's not contrarian. I follow God. I'm a slave to God. I'm a servant for God.
So then why are you the only one that keeps getting banned when so many people follow this religion?
You know who else gets banned?
That follow
you know what's funny? Like
well.
Other people, other religious, like outspoken religious people. Nick Fuentes is an outspoken Catholic, banned everywhere. Everywhere. What did he say? What did he do? You know what's funny? Cr1tiKal, who you believe is a confirmed pedophile, still allowed on Instagram, still allowed on YouTube. Mr. Beast, who platform still allowed on YouTube. Number one, still going to be trending everywhere. Listen. Alex Jones, Christian, very public about it. Banned everywhere. Andrew Tate, Muslim, banned everywhere. All the people that get banned are God-fearing. They don't want us to believe in God, Moist. They push the clips that are negative so people like you think I'm hateful. I'm telling you, the people like you are supposed to believe I'm hateful because they want to push you as far away from God. Even though you were baptized and you grew up Catholic, you should go back to your religion, man. I really hope you do.
You keep saying Catholic. I was never Catholic. Every single person.
Did you see the difference in how your fellow Twitch creators like Pokimane, Valky Ray, Cinia, These people that dominate Twitch. Did you see the difference in how they treated Dr. Disrespect and how they treated Chris Tyson?
They called out the behavior. They called it out in both situations.
You think it was the same?
But one of them is a little different because the hatred against Ava Tyson was used beyond the situation. So there was more to talk about there. Like,
do you think
to attack others completely outside of it?
You think that overall creators spoke about Chris Tyson the same way they spoke about Dr. Disrespect?
I guess it's hard to say for sure because I only saw a lot of the discussion that was happening on Twitter around me because it was flooded about everything I did wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I may have missed quite a bit.
You thought it was a fair balance?
What's that?
You thought it was fair, the amount of people that condemned Dr. Disrespect, but also condemned
I feel like everyone that condemned Dr. Disrespect has also condemned Ava Tyson.
You think you really think it was equal?
From what I saw, yeah.
Okay, it wasn't. What about the people that called Sketch a hero when he was exposed for doing?
That's such a non-issue. That's
do you mind? I know,
situation.
but do you see? I saw the entire industry come and say, "You're so brave. You're the best." I saw Jinxie.
So many people like you were saying how awful it is. So
I never said that. I think it's great that he found God and he found Christianity. That's good. But I saw Jinxie shed crocodile tears for the fact that Sketch took black dick. And I didn't see him shed one tear for Chris messaging kids. It's just like, where are people's morality at? Like, when it comes to Gaza kids getting bombed, nothing, not a word. When it comes to
the way
Sketch
you interpret situations is so interesting to me. So, like, for example, the example you used there, I'll touch on in a minute. But for me, I did have something up about Ava within the first 6 hours of everything breaking. And then you immediately spun that as me just keeping it there and would never talk about it publicly. And then I did, and you're like, oh, it wasn't as fast.
I think I pressured you and a lot of creators, and I take credit for pressuring a lot of people to speak about it. And I think if I wasn't so vocal about it, I don't think a lot of people would have said a fucking word.
And you're totally welcome to have that belief. And then the way you just looked at Jinxie, you take the most uncharitable, most vitriolic approach to interpreting how people respond to things because you look at people in a negative way.
I don't.
You do.
I don't. I saw he posted a crocodile tear on TikTok. He posted a Snapchat. He posted a YouTube video. He cried on Twitch. Everywhere he could. Sketch, like there was on every single social media.
His best friend was getting attacked by everyone else until people were willing to come forward and defend him. The first
where's he getting it? Who attacked him? Who attacked?
You can't.
Who attacked Sketch?
So many.
Can you name one?
Yeah, Myron.
What do you say?
I don't remember, but he was in the pile up. Nope. But
okay.
there was a ton.
I think he called about the hypocrisy. If you can like remember a specific thing. What did he say?
Convy.
What did Convy say?
He said that they should all be shot.
Nope. That was 2 months before that. That was a clip out of context. He said that, I think, about when XQC was putting on dresses and talking about how it's okay to kiss guys. Like maybe it was before that. He said that much before. That clip was not there. Convy Convy's been. I talked about it. Convy's been defending Sketch.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't see that. See?
Yes, he is.
Well,
he is.
To show you, I didn't see all.
So what creator? What creator was dogpiling on Sketch?
I just named one, Myron.
But you don't even know what he said.
I don't remember. How am I going to remember what he said verbatim?
I just remembered Sketch crying verbatim and saying, "Sketch, I'm so proud of you." I remember that.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that.
I don't know how it wasn't that long ago.
He didn't do anything wrong.
The point is, like, if there was dogpiling, you would remember specific quotes and you remember something.
I really wouldn't. It was like a month ago now.
See, there was like a fake idea. This is what happened. There was a fake idea that people were dogpiling, but in reality, there were like a couple incels commenting, but every single creator who collabed with them once said, "You're the best! You're the best!" Trophy, just like Caitlyn Jenner won Woman of the Year after killing somebody with his car. Like we start to celebrate these people as if they're so brave for doing what? They didn't even do anything. Are you looking for the dog piles? I want to see it.
I'm just going through quite a bit of them. It's just these aren't big accounts that you would know. So it's
not big accounts. I remember all the big accounts celebrating it. This is what I'm talking about, right? And all these people collabed with Mr. Beast and stood right next to Chris Tyson celebrating it. There's very clearly an agenda to get kids to cut their dicks off, and I'm tired of it. And I think we're all, and this is what Love's speech about. We're tired of kids cutting their penises off. Tired of it, Moise.
We're just not gonna see eye to eye on shit, brother. And that's just the way it's got to be, I guess.
All right, man. This was all right, man. Clips not
It was
matched.
interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Hey,
How long were you yapping for?
That was like a 2.5 hour yap sesh.
Yeah. Hey, let's do it again in a year, huh?
The annual Yap Sesh?
The annual Clips versus Mags.
All right, that sounds good. But
right.
one more time for the one time.
I don't, for real though, like, I don't hate you. God bless you and guide you. I think that, I do think you have a good heart. So, I hope you keep pushing a positive message and doing the right thing.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. I hope down the line you'll see that even though you might not recognize it now, there are people you surround yourself with that are hateful. Even if you yourself are not, if it all is just misconstrued, there are people around you that legitimately do come from a very bad place.
And I will be quick to believe you if you could show me a shred of evidence. Take it easy.
All right,
All right,
sounds good, man.
Tell me who won the debate. Comment.